problem.
So Enrique Iglesias isn't going to be the opening of the show?
No. I don't know any Enrique Iglesias songs. Is that bad?
No, I don't know.
Probably I just pissed off every female in America.
I don't know any other...
And every Hispanic in the
go.
world.
There you go.
There we go. That's probably better. Look at me, your hero, baby.
I don't know anything other than that song.
I need to stop. Living la vida
Too sweet! Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Jarrett Hood. That's the way you can find our personal Twitters of the show's Twitter page is @_JD Sports. You can watch it on YouTube or you can listen to us on SoundCloud. How do you listen to us on SoundCloud?
Hit up SoundCloud.com/JD Sports Show. It took me a second.
That's right. I mess it up all the time. That's why I always...
SoundCloud.com/JD Sports Show.
Dwight, we have a huge show today. Like, a lot to get into. I'm talking about NBA. Talking about a little bit of the draft.
Yeah, I guess we have to, huh?
A couple extracurriculars to get into. On top of that, we're not going to really get into the WWE, but Jericho over the weekend won the U.S. Championship and now is going from Raw to SmackDown. So that's pretty exciting.
He did.
That's all I know, actually, about that happened over the weekend on WWE, and that's because I like Jericho. So
it was kind of shocking. Nobody saw it coming.
Right,
I didn't see it coming.
I have no clue. I didn't even know he was fighting for it until after he won it and went from Raw to SmackDown.
The weird thing is that he's going on tour with Fozzy at the end of the month, so everybody thought that he was like going to kind of step away. His contract supposedly was up, and then this happened, so it was like,
well, the two weird things that I find with this is one, that he's still touring with Fozzy, and two, the other weird thing is that Kurt Angle just became the GM of Raw, so I really, and that's his boy, like they're good friends, so I thought that was a little odd that Jericho would move then.
Now they're split. I don't know.
That's about it for our WWE talk for this week, though.
Yeah, because the rest of that pay-per-view was trash. I'm just saying.
Jumping into the NBA, because I feel like the NBA is... Look, before we jump into the NBA, can I just... Not just... Because I know we always call out ESPN. Not just ESPN. I'm going to go across sports networks across the board here. I'm talking all sports networks.
Okay.
Can we, the day after the draft, which had 4 playoff games the same night, 4 actual playoff games in 2 different sports, can we not, the day after the draft, talk for nothing but the draft? Can we talk about the games? Because actually all 4 games were close. Both hockey games, if I'm not mistaken, were within 1 goal, and both basketball games were within 10 points of their finish. So
what night are we talking about? Because I feel
Thursday and a Friday.
I was going to say that went through Monday.
Well, it was all weekend. I agree with you. It was all weekend, and the NFL took over all weekend. And we're going to get into the draft. We're going to talk about the draft, but I would like to start with games, like actual sports that are going on
today
in April. Now, obviously May.
And I get it. It's the draft.
I do too. And there's nothing more exciting than hearing that X player could come to your team, and now you're trying to fit X player into your system and your regime. And it is fun to try to think of who they're going to get. And it is fun. I'm not even going to lie.
But in a 60-minute broadcast, I don't need to hear 40 of NFL draft.
Especially when there was two NBA games that same night. When there was 2 NHL games that same night, which all 4 games were good, and they all had impacts on their respective sports. And here we were just talking about nothing about what happened, except for what happened in the draft the day after.
It's disgusting.
Sports radio show I listened to, I couldn't get actual information on what was happening during games. All I was getting was draft coverage. That was frustrating all weekend, and even into Monday. It was just frustrating because I would like to talk about the actual games.
So basically, you were on like last week where I was like, there was nothing but Aaron Hernandez coverage.
Yes,
and now this week
it's the same thing.
Nothing but NFL draft coverage.
And I understand the draft more than I understand the Aaron Hernandez coverage. Because at least the draft is, like I said, you're inserting players into your team, and now you're trying to figure out how they're going to work into your system and who's this X factor.
But it's May.
Exactly.
April, May.
And it was the end of April going into May. And I totally agree with you. And I was on the side of when I woke up the next day, I was excited to talk about the games that were happening or listen to people talk about the games that were happening. And at work and on the radio and on TV, all I saw was the NFL draft. Instead of people actually talking about the games that were happening, I
agree with you.
I feel like if we had a show, the next day we would have opened up with purposely nothing but sports and then got into the draft by the end of our show. And I feel like we wouldn't even address the draft until like an hour into a show if we had one, because I didn't understand it. I thought it was just, I feel like every year it's covered poorly that the rest of sports during that draft. But this year especially because of how wild the draft was, because of how wild the actual things happening in the draft, not just necessarily the actual at the draft. I mean, like the actual changing of picks, the players being taken. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was
wild. It
was
was the wildest it's ever been that I can remember. So I do understand why there was a lot to talk about. I just kind of wanted the Spurs game the night before to be talked about, or the Blues game the night before to be talked about. You know what I mean?
No, I feel you. It's disgusting, and that's been my complaint for the past couple of weeks. Like, we need to focus on what's going on now, like, as far as, like, just sports in general. No, you need, like, yeah, the
coverage is there. Coverage needs to happen. Coverage needs to happen. I think it needs to be covered.
It doesn't need to be as extensive as it's
I don't need to take it to the other extreme of let's not talk about it at all. I just feel like there's a place for it, and I feel like this time of year, there's a bigger place for other things. There's playoffs. There's literal playoffs going on in other sports for them to just basically, I mean, not to call out Mike and Mike, but Mike and Mike, I wake up, I go to work between 6 and 7. Right. I didn't listen to Mike and Mike because when I listened to the first 10 minutes, it was all draft. And then right before I got to work, I put it on for the last 10 minutes and it was still all draft. For the entire first hour, they did nothing but talk about the draft. When there was 4 playoff games in 2 different sports the night before, I was like, you're not even give me 10 minutes of just talking about the scores? Can you just give me some scores, even though I knew the scores? Can you just at least like throw in a little Sports Center clip here for me? Like, just talk about something other. And they had all NFL for the whole time. Now,
same show, same.
They were in Philly.
Issue that I had last week, but different topic.
But
dude, it's been my same complaint.
Before we actually even get into the NBA, because I know so we were about to get into it, I just want to quickly, real fast, Dale Earnhardt Jr., NASCAR driver. That look. When I was a kid, because we all know how dug into sports I am. I mean, you get a game on, I watch it. Obviously, we do this for what we want to do for a living one day. The first sport that I was really exposed to, and I know people don't call NASCAR a sport, but the first sport that I was really exposed to as a kid was NASCAR. One of those people, but yeah. I understand. But I look at it the opposite way. I look at it as a sport. And that's a different topic for a different day. But absolutely. When I was a kid, I was exposed to NASCAR. That was the first. That and hockey were the first 2 sports that I was ever exposed to. I got absolutely dug in. Everyone hated Dale Earnhardt Sr., so I liked Dale Earnhardt Sr. My parents both like different drivers. Neither of them liked Dale Earnhardt Sr., so I picked number 3 because I thought it was funny that they didn't like Dale Earnhardt for some reason when I was a kid.
Same applies to NFL stars today, folks.
Right. So it's very true. So when I was a little kid, especially NASCAR is one of those sports. NASCAR, I feel like all individual sports. I know NASCAR is an individual sport, but it is to most people who just watch it on the base.
It is. Yeah.
You feel a connection with these people, and at that age, I felt like Dale Earnhardt was part of my life. He passes away, but before he passed away, Junior was in the series below, and I basically made it very clear to my parents that Junior was going to be my favorite racer. Like, I loved Earnhardt, but Junior was going to be, as I was growing up, he was going to be the next guy. He was going to take over for his dad. So I was dug in on Junior at the level underneath. I watched all those races. I was fully in. I actually went to Dover and watched him race in the series underneath, and he won a race. It was great. 18, 20 years ago, whatever. So, shout out to him, though. 18 years in, he's finally retiring. I thought that after the injury last year he was going to retire, but I feel like he came back to prove to himself that he can get back in the car, that he can get into a wreck, that he can drive 110 miles an hour again fearlessly the way that he wants to. But he got married in the offseason. He wants to start a family. It is time. Look, nothing against him because he's a good driver. It's just things have not worked out where he's going to be multiple-time champion. So even if he wins the championship this year, it'd be a great way for him to go off. But realistically, if he drove another 5 years, he wasn't going to win multiple championships in that time. So. But it is still a loss for NASCAR because he is the Tiger Woods. He is the draw right now. He is the weight of the other 42 drivers on a Sunday. You know, Earnhardt Sr. passing away, there's no question that the sport took a huge hit in the 10 years after that. And they started to finally build that back up in the last, I'd say, about 4 or 5 years. But they still are not anywhere near the level of even the NHL, which isn't one of the most popular sports in America right now. So they are building themselves back, but to lose the hit of the driver of Dale Earnhardt Jr. that they're going to lose, that is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as somebody who literally, the only reason I even tune into races anymore is to see what Junior is doing, it affects me personally, so I guess that's why I brought it up as well. But shout out to him. It was a great career, even though he's probably going to end up with no championships. He had an amazing career. He overcame a lot of things. And the one thing that I do want to say about the NASCAR community in general, how they rallied around him, not just the week after his dad passed away, because the week after his dad passed away, he drove again. Like, Junior drove drove in that race. Not just that week. I'm talking about the whole 18 years, 15 years later that we are now looking at. How they still support him, the community, not just the fans, not just the NASCAR, the sport in general, how everyone still is behind Junior 110%. Like, he could have went a whole different direction after that happened. Instead, he is still the most popular driver. He's still the most loved driver in and out of the garage. And he is a great human being from all accounts that everyone sees. So for him to be able to have the support and love around him and continue to do what he wanted to do and have the direction that he has had and all the people to take him under their wing. NASCAR is one of those rare sports that I find it's a family feel, even though they're all competing against each other. And I think that's a really cool aspect of it. But shout out to him.
Absolutely.
I want to make that very quick. And, that was an original part of me watching sports. So that is a piece of, my childhood kind of final ending. And it's one of the few pieces of my childhood when I got into sports ending. So it's momentous to me. Moving into a sport that we both cover very well, basketball.
Right.
I mean, there's so many moving parts that happened since we last talked about basketball, and there's so many moving parts that are going to be happening between now and when this airs. But I would say I'm trying to put this delicately, not to sound horrible, but it's going to sound horrible no matter how I say it. There's no better words to a guy like me, to a sports nut like me, especially this time of year, than Game 7. Okay, you tell me Game 7, I am dug in. I'm ready. I'm gonna watch every second of it. It's exciting. I'm gonna be honest with you. The first time since I can remember, I did not give a lick about a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs because it was just them playing 7 games to see who gets whooped by the Golden State Warriors, and I felt like the feel of that series felt that way from the first game where Joe Johnson hit the bucket at the buzzer, and we were at the bar, and you didn't even care, and I came running down to tell you about it, and you still didn't even care. And no, but like that was. And
our biggest concern was Joe Johnson's in the NBA.
Right. Because then we're looking at each other like, yo, Joe Johnson's still playing basketball. Like, hold on, I didn't know he played for Utah.
And then after that brief moment, I was like, whatever, go back to
right. And you're absolutely right. So like that was a microcosm of the series of how much we really cared about the series, and that's not just I say we. I mean we as Americans. Like that series was. I tweeted it. Are they really about to play 7 to figure out who's going to go play 4 against Golden State? Because, like, you just played your heart out to go lose. And
the Clippers and the Utah Jazz.
The Clippers are Utah Jazz. I will
two
be
teams
honest
that are way undermanned regardless, but 2 teams and nobody outside of those markets and whoever fans are spread throughout.
I don't even people who in those markets cared. Like, I mean, it was on my. I'll be honest. It was on my TV.
It wasn't on mine.
I don't know if I watched it though.
I didn't watch. I was asleep. I was taking a nap.
No, I mean there was.
I napped the whole game.
Yeah,
that Sunday, yes, I did.
It wasn't close.
I went 9-9 and woke up.
I mean, it got close, sort of.
It was still on supposedly, but I wasn't paying attention. I had no clue what was going on.
It didn't matter.
I didn't know the winner until it was like 9:30 at night, and I turned on my phone. I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot. Let me see who won."
I can't think of
the Jazz. The Clippers.
I can't think of another series that we cared less about in the playoffs ever. Another series that went 7 games that we cared less about in the playoffs ever, and a Game 7 that we as Americans cared less about ever.
Because the Jazz are improving, and the Clippers, neither one of us, especially, really bought into in general.
No, I didn't buy into them, obviously, but I know what you mean.
But we both knew that their time has been up. This notion that now it's over, it's like, really? Like, I said it last year. We've said it in previous years that, no, they've been done. Like, they reached their plateau, and they never got where they were supposed to. In everybody's minds, losing to the Utah Jazz in LA doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't surprise me.
I was just gonna say for those who
just don't care.
For those who cared about the amount that Dwight and I did, and were like Dwight didn't even know who won. The Utah Jazz
until 9:30 at night.
The Utah Jazz did win this game that we are talking about.
What time was that? It was like 4 or 5 hours later. I was like, oh shit, who won that one game that was on?
I think the game ended at like 5 or 6. So
it was like 4 or 5 hours.
So
yeah. Right. That shows how much I care. It didn't start till
4:30, so it probably didn't until 7. That doesn't matter.
Regardless.
The point is
I forgot there was a game on.
Ending. It was over.
No.
So, but
I didn't want the other game, but yeah, that game I was.
Before we start talking about the future of the playoffs, you brought up the Clippers. They're at a pivotal point in the Clippers realm here. Where they're at a pivotal point in that Doc Rivers regime, in that DeAndre Jordan regime, in that CP3, that Blake Griffin regime.
R.I.P. First of all, R.I.P. to the fan base that, I saw so many of you on my social media that was, so devastated and following them this year. Shout out to none of you that were on my timeline 3 or 4 years ago saying, love silly, Lakers who?
Donald Sterling's probably upset, yeah?
Yeah, it has to be.
We just watched his old franchise get taken out in the first round of Game 7.
Has to suck seeing all those black players, huh?
What would be worse? The Clippers winning that game in Game 7 and going and getting just absolutely destroyed in 4 games against Golden State? Because I'll be honest with you, Golden State is not going to embarrass Utah the way that they would have embarrassed the Clippers. We all know that Golden State hates the Clippers with a passion. Look, Golden State beat the Clippers by 40 in a preseason game this year because they don't like the Clippers. Golden State has made it very clear how much they do not like the Clippers, how much they don't respect the Clippers, Clippers, and how I feel like they probably would have won every game in that series, 1 through 4, by 40 points just to prove a point to make the Clippers look stupid.
It's definitely more embarrassing to lose to Utah just because everybody would expect that the Clippers.
Point.
Everybody would expect the Clippers are going to get their ass beat by Golden State. Nobody would expect Utah. I don't care how much. Well, Gordon Hayward. I don't want to hear all that.
They all came back though.
I don't want to hear.
Played.
Right, but nobody would expect that the Clippers would lose at home in a Game 7 to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Stop. Especially, it wasn't even that they lost. They lost kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, they were getting blown out for most of that game until about 3 minutes left to go in the game.
It's definitely worse to lose to Utah in that situation.
Back to my original point about the future of the Clippers, though. So you just say blow it up?
RIP. I mean, I've heard cases where people are saying, well, if you blow it up, what are you going to do? Which I understand. Either way,
that's where I'm at on it.
Where I'm at on it is that they're the Clippers and that their plateau, like I said, has been reached. And it's regardless of the direction they went with, regardless of who they get rid of or how they do it, it's going to be a downward spiral from here.
Okay, and so I agree. So you're saying don't even try for one more shot. Now I agree.
I say blow it up.
All right,
because if I have to make a decision, I don't say get rid of everybody. Maybe you keep whoever, like a Chris Paul or whoever, like 1 or 2 players that you can keep. Get rid of a Blake. Get rid of whoever you can get rid of and get some value for. Well, actually, they're free agents, aren't they? Blake's a free agent.
Yeah, well, Blake and Chris Paul are free agents.
Well, maybe you sign one, you get rid of the other one because Chris Paul or Blake, one of them will at least get people to buy a ticket to go there.
You're going to need both of those players, though, I feel like, to continue to win games and make it to where they were in the West. No, I don't disagree with you.
First round out,
but I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. No,
blow it up then.
I don't disagree with you, but
then blow it up.
The other side of this, because I am in on the basically tank for a couple years and try to build your team back up because that's really you have to do something drastic to be drastically good in these leagues.
The Clippers, you're damn sure not getting
any free agents. If you're sitting in the middle, where basically if you're sitting in from 4 to basically the almost not bottom 4 to anything but the bottom 4 in your conference, you are going to be mediocre for 5 to 10 years. That's just how it goes. And the Clippers are the best example. The Clippers and the Grizzlies are 2 really good examples of always being from 8 to 4, but never really being from 4 to 1. And when they are 4 to 1, they're always going to lose to one of the other 3 seeds, and they're never actually going to go to the finals and win the finals. And in the NBA, do you want to be those Sonics teams that basically had to go against Jordan in the finals? Do you want to be those Utah teams that had to go against Jordan in the finals? Do you want to
that goes back to
the reason we don't know anything about the middle 94, 95, 96, 97 Eastern Conference is because in 93 when the Bulls beat the Pistons, the rest of the Eastern Conference fell off because they knew they weren't going to beat the Bulls anymore. It's the same thing in the East against Cavaliers basically. They knew they weren't going to compete with the Heat. They knew they weren't going to compete with the Cavaliers. Right. So they fell off. They decided outside of teams like Atlanta for the 2 years, outside of Indiana for the 2 years, outside of Toronto for now 2 years, which all those franchises, if you look at where they're at, are they really competing? Like they are, but they're not. You know what I mean? So I understand why the Clippers would want to make another shot, but I'm with you. I say blow it up. Try to become one of those teams that you can get into the top 4 of your Western Conference and actually be a top 4 team where I know we don't feel like the Rockets have a really good shot, but at least we feel like the Rockets have somewhat of a shot against the Spurs and somewhat of a shot against Golden State, even though we don't think they're going to beat either of those teams. My thing is I feel like they're more of a realistic team, and that's still not. You still don't want to be the Rockets if you are the Clippers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this kind of goes back to the argument we had before about championship or bust, and I always say be respectable if you're competing for year after year after year. If you want to be, if it's the Clippers or the Sonics. If you're competing, I'd rather see
the Grizzlies, Oklahoma City.
Personally, I'd rather my team be competitive and be out there. Whether or not you win, I mean, whatever. But at least if you're out there, you're trying and you're being competitive and you're respectable.
But you're saying,
cool, I'm good with that. Then rather than being.
But you just said about
the Lakers of today, or
you just said about how since they're not going to. You just said about how the Clippers aren't going to be able to win a championship the next year or two.
That's because their plateau is reached. That's a completely different thing.
Right,
they tried for however many years.
Right.
That's a completely different conversation.
No. I know. I didn't mean that in the sense of you're saying the opposite way. I was going to go into. So you're saying you made the run, you did the best you could.
It worked.
You're not getting any better.
And they've only been going down.
On top of it, we said CP3 and Blake are free agents. I'm pretty sure
one of them's walking. One of them.
I'm pretty sure Redick's also a free agent.
At least one of them's walking.
Also, they don't have a draft pick this year. They traded their first round pick for I forget who, but their second round pick for 2017. The reason they don't have one, they went after Austin Rivers from Dallas 4 years ago.
How'd that work out?
Do you look at Doc and do you say, look, you can be our coach but not our GM anymore? Or do you say you can be our GM but not our coach anymore? He has to give a title up at this point, right? There is no question that Doc Rivers, the coach, is still the man. Doc Rivers, the GM, has repeatedly not gotten out of the second round.
Sure, I mean, we can go there.
He traded this year's second round pick for Austin Rivers. Now you have 0 draft picks. You have in a season where we are talking about either try for one more quick run, put all hands on deck, do everything you can to go try to win try to win a championship with this roster, or just blow it up with this roster. In the most pivotal year of this roster, basically now it's the most pivotal offseason. You don't have a draft pick. You don't have a draft pick. You have to look at the GM right square in the face. I mean, that is his fault.
He definitely should at minimum lose the GM situation spot, but I mean,
I don't say fire him as coach. He's a great coach. He's still a great coach
situation. Yeah, that's
he's still a good coach.
He's a good coach.
I'm a Doc Rivers fan. I am. I just don't think as a GM.
He's a good coach. So am I. But then my argument is, okay, I was a Mark Jackson fan. I like Mark Jackson. And the difference between the two is that one got a ring, but how many years has that been? What have you done for me lately? So how long do you ride on that? Well, he won a championship in what, 2000? What was it, 8 at this point?
And it was put together by Danny H as the GM.
If it was it 2008? Whatever, 8 years that it's been. Okay, cool. You got a championship. It's been 8 years. What have you done since? Not made it to the finals.
I don't say just fire him because we both agree. Even though
he made it at one point and lost, but anyway.
Even though Steve Kerr made it. It looks really good for the Warriors now. Even though that happened, that's an anomaly. You don't just fire a coach like Jackson or like Doc, who is consistently getting your team to the playoffs. You don't just fire those guys and expect to continue to have the success that Golden State had, even though Golden State had that success. I would say the Clippers moving forward, we both agree you got to take probably the GM spot away from him.
At least.
They need to, I would say sooner than later, make that decision before they start making the decision about the team. Like, I feel like the first thing you need to address is Doc Rivers as the coach and GM. If you're going to give him any duties, if you're going to take half his duties away, if you're going to give him all the duties still, you have to make that decision in the next couple days and then move forward on figuring out if you're going to get Redick, CP3, and Blake back. Before we move on to the rest of the playoffs, I'm a CP3 guy. I love Chris Paul. I think he's one of the best, most underrated players in the league. Yeah. I know you're not a big wins above replacement guy, where the individual stats, whatever. With him off the floor, they are 10 times worse. He is the only real reason that they made it as far as they did, even to this point. He has now played for the only 2 franchises in the last 17 years that haven't made the conference finals.
Well, then I guess he isn't all that great.
Is he the problem? And I love CP3, but that really that stat alone. He didn't really
show up in Game 7.
And he has played a big chunk of both those organizations over that time, and he was the best player on both of them. And he did play really bad in Game 7, but they don't even have a Game 7 without him playing as good as he did in Game 6. And I'm with you.
If you're the guy, be the guy.
Right? And
be the guy, Roman.
I totally hear you. So moving forward, we'll just get this out of the way now. Utah beat the Clippers.
I was gonna say that's
Utah beat the Clippers.
Cute.
So they just played 7 to go figure out how many games against Golden State. What do you put this number at? 4 or 5?
4.
Put it at 4. I'll be honest.
I was gonna try to respect them and give them 1, but
I was too.
They might.
It was really hard for me to do. Okay,
you know it's BS. They could pull. Well, I was gonna say they could pull a 76er Laker thing and just steal one for no damn reason.
It's crazy that you just said that.
They really could. I feel like they could, but. If I'm saying put money on it,
I started thinking about this. I literally started thinking about this when I was thinking before I asked you the question earlier today.
It's going to be on Golden State if they lose. It's not going to be on
I've been thinking about this all day.
It's going to be Golden State fucking up.
Golden State might be the best playoff team I've seen since that middle, like when the Lakers won back to back to back. This is the middle Lakers team. You're talking about it's that squad, right? They lost 1 game in the playoffs. It happens to be the most iconic moment of the playoffs, of that particular playoffs. But it's because like I always say, the reason Iverson's moment is so iconic is because that Lakers team lost 1 game in the playoffs. They lost 1 game in the playoffs. That's how good and dominant that Lakers team was.
And how desperate Philadelphia was for a moment.
Not even just desperate. Not even Philadelphia. That's across the league. Like that is the most iconic moment from that playoffs. My thing is my point of this is. At that time, we were watching that and marveling. We were like, oh my God, I can't believe the Lakers are just rolling through the playoffs the way they are, even though we knew how good they were. I think I would be shocked if Golden State didn't roll through the playoffs like that, the way and how strong they are as a team. Like, I can't think of it took me back to that 01 Lakers team, that 2000-2001 Lakers team, for me to actually think of a team that dominant. Those Heat teams were not as dominant as that Lakers team or this Golden State team. Those Celtics team were not as dominant as that Lakers team or this Golden State team. Those Pistons teams were not as dominant as those Lakers or this Golden State team. I think those Lakers and this Golden State team are the two best from 01 till this time. This Golden State team, they shouldn't lose a game going into the finals. They should not lose one game going into the finals.
You say that so easily. I'm just looking to the next round. I don't care who it is. I don't
Houston
know.
or Spurs?
They don't drop by at least one?
I'm saying...
To either one. I don't care who.
I'm not saying they don't drop one.
Okay,
I'm saying...
that's what I'm talking about.
I think there's a better chance. I think if you were asking me, like they are the most dominant team since that 2000-2001 Lakers team that I've seen. I mean, that 2000-2001 Lakers team looked like it was unstoppable throughout the entire playoffs. The reason the Iverson moment is so iconic because they are literally the gladiator. Like they are literally the team that nobody could beat.
And if Utah wins game one,
and it was one game.
Nobody's going to even see it as
and I agree. And
nobody's going to say, "Oh," and I understand. They're like, "Holy shit, they lost!" But
I totally
in
agree.
3 years, nobody's going to remember it.
Totally agree, and I'll also agree with that. I totally also agree. But my point is just how dominant, how good they are.
We know they're dominant, right?
I don't see them losing a game against Utah. I would be shocked. And to your point, it would be on Golden State if they lost a game, not because of something Utah did. As good as Utah is defensively, because Utah is very good defensively. No, they're not going to compete with Golden State. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. So we're done with that series. We both agree. Golden State 4, and if they get 5, it's lucky. All right.
4. Yeah, 4.
Well, I'll keep it in the West then. I'll just straight up keep this in the West. We have the Rockets taking on the Spurs.
Interesting.
The most interesting West series probably so far, even as good as the Spurs Grizzly were. And, you had the storylines of the Rockets and Oklahoma City. Do you think the Rockets can pull the upset off? Win the whole series?
Can they? Yeah. Am I enough of a hater to not pick them? Yeah.
You don't like James Harden, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was.
Or Mike D'Antoni. So.
Oh, that's right. I forgot D'Antoni's our head coach. Yeah, no, it shouldn't.
But I will say, look, because
they played much better around Harden, and D'Antoni moving him from shooting guard to point guard has been incredible.
Yeah, we know. But
touches to points in the history of the NBA.
Congratulations.
That's a pretty impressive stat.
We've talked about this.
I know, it's an impressive stat, though.
Yeah, great.
Also, most turnovers in the history of the NBA, behind Russell Westbrook. But
you don't say. No, but I was thinking about it earlier today, too. How many games would I give San Antonio? I don't know. The problem with San Antonio, and it was looking that way last series, is that it's almost too much of a one-man show at this point. I just don't know when you're facing a team like Houston, which is not stacked, but they're more solid overall right now at this point.
When they get rolling shooting,
Houston could end up knocking this situation.
When Houston gets rolling shooting, they become very hard to keep up with on the other side of the ball.
Who the hell outside of Kawhi is going to be shooting out there?
That's what I was going to say. Like, they become very hard to compete with bucket-wise on the other end. Because now you're trying to compete with the way they're scoring.
Unless Aldridge remembers that there's a series going on and he dominates.
What happened to him? He was the big free agent. And you know what?
He hasn't shown up in this postseason yet. As of yet. If he starts dominating, then yes, I will absolutely hands down go with that situation. But especially in this postseason, he's been a non-factor for real.
Since the Gasol brothers have been in the NBA, collectively, I would say, across the league, we all feel like Powell has been the better player. As good as Mark has been, we all feel like Powell has been the better player throughout his career. Yeah. That series, even though the Spurs won, Mark handled Powell throughout most of that series. Mark handled Powell.
Powell's how much older now? Like that's
I understand.
Right. Okay, right. So keep okay.
To your point, I know what I'm saying is like we just talked about the two other best players for San Antonio.
Nobody's talking about Powell in that situation.
We're not.
Yeah, he's good, but no, he's not. No.
And Tony Parker.
No. He's even on a lesser scale. He's even on a lesser scale.
Manu Ginobili didn't score.
He's on a lesser scale than that.
He didn't score points till Game 3.
Right.
He didn't score a point till Game 3 against the Grizzlies.
When your second best player right now is Pau Gasol and LaMarcus Aldridge is just chilling somewhere doing nothing,
it's going to be very rough.
And no disrespect to Pau, but at this point in his career, he's just not that guy.
And Kawhi can do it. Kawhi can do it. Kawhi is a monster.
Kawhi can do it.
Disrespectful on offense.
I need Aldridge to step it up. But
they're going to need more than just him, especially if the Rockets get shooting the way the Rockets can get shooting, because that's a hard thing to compete with, as I said. Not just you stopping them on defense, because if you can't stop them on defense, then your best defense is to compete with them on offense. Right. If Kawhi is the only one that can compete with them on offense, the Spurs will find themselves in a lot of trouble very fast.
I'm going to take San Antonio in 6, but I'm not completely as confident as I would want to be.
I'm picking San Antonio.
Under normal circumstances, I would be 100% confident, but
yeah, I'm picking
the way that the playoffs have been going up at this point, Not confident.
I'm picking San Antonio. I'm not going to put a game on it, and I agree with you on the not confident part because as good as the Spurs can be defensively, this league is about figuring out how to stop other offenses, and if the Rockets get creative,
who's doing it?
Exactly. If the Rockets can get creative and figure out how to score buckets against the Spurs defense, there is going to be some issues for the Spurs figuring out how to compete with them because Kawhi can't go out there and score 55 a night.
I was going to say, the Rockets took care of a team that had a one-man soldier out there. So
yes.
And the thing with San Antonio is that they have some weapons.
Yeah,
it's just not working.
Also, the most underrated defensive team, and no one talks about San Antonio. San Antonio's defense is still San Antonio's defense. Mm-hmm. And I am excited to watch them and their sets and the way they want to match up against the Rockets because the Rockets, as I keep saying, can shoot. And if they get on a roll, they become very lethal. We're both taking the Spurs there. So we got Golden State and the Spurs, which is not really super out on a limb for both of us going to the Western Conference Finals.
No.
Keeping it to the NBA. I don't want to call it a meaningless series.
It is.
But it's the more meaningless series of the two. Even though it has the more storylines, the Washington Wizards and the Boston Celtics
not the one I was calling.
Did not like each other. I know, that's why I kept going with it. I knew you thought the other one. The Washington Wizards and the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
Speaking of Boston, real quick, we were talking about the Clippers earlier. Finally, that great Brooklyn net, Paul Pierce, the really good Brooklyn net. He was a good Wizard as well. And the Clippers are going to miss his minutes. He's finally retiring, so shout out to the fake.
Yeah. You know what's... Bro, I'm a Lakers fan.
I'm very rarely a hater.
And he beat my squad.
How rarely am I a hater, though?
But you are such a hater.
How rarely am I a hater? There's very few people in sports that I get with.
I hate LeBron. No, you hate Paul Pierce.
Yes, absolutely.
Because fun. You know Shaq gave him that nickname, right? That you shit on. But the only reason you shit on it is because of AI.
Yeah, because he came up with the truth.
But Shaq came up with it.
Yeah, I understand that. I know that. Oh, I knew that. I knew that wasn't
but you shit on it so
I knew that wasn't a
because you're such a
because Paul Pierce was
fan.
just trying to become Allen Iverson at that point.
He was really good. I won't say he's great. Do I think he's Hall of Fame? No. Do I think he's great? Nah.
He's not what people make him out to be. Really? Yes or no? Is he as good as people make him out to be? Because my argument isn't as
no, but he's really
you're not
good.
Okay.
But he's really good. Is he not?
I'll put my joking aside.
He's really good.
Yes,
he was really good.
Paul Pierce is a good basketball player. That's not my problem.
He wasn't really good. He's just good.
No, he was a really good basketball player. He was a solid NBA player for a very long time, and that is a heart that does not happen often. He was a above average NBA player for a very long time.
Because that's the most I'll ever get out of
No, my other side of it is
here's your yearbook.
You act not you. The reaction, the fan base acts like the NBA fan base acts like he is like this first ballot Hall of Famer. Like he he was so disgustingly good.
No, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know, but is he a first ballot? Hell no.
Good until he had KG and Ray Allen around him and Rondo.
He was good, but
he is more known for faking a leg injury in the middle of the finals and coming back. Like that's again,
factual, right?
I have so many things that just pile up. Where
look, I'm not a Paul Pierce apologist,
and I'm not a hater. Like I am a hater on him, but you know me. I don't hate players. I am a
sure? You don't hate Paul Pierce?
I dislike Paul Pierce, but I am a very. Am I not the most probably one of the most pro player people you know?
Which is why it's hilarious to me that you hate.
That I just go in on him. Yes,
I'm just
absolutely.
Like, why?
Because there's so many things that just add up to. I just
like,
find
I'm a Lakers fan, and I can at least be like, I
find him to be probably the most overrated NBA player of my lifetime. I can't think. I mean, Jeremy Lin had
it's
a very.
It's ironic because you love Carmelo, but we're not going there. But yeah, I feel you. I'm just saying.
Who's the better player? Paul Pierce or Carmelo?
Who has more rings? Paul Pierce.
Who's the better player? But you're saying I won't disagree with you that Paul Pierce is a better team basketball player, but the better
Who's
player.
the better defender?
I'll give you that all day. But who is the better overall basketball player? It's not even close. Carmelo Anthony.
If we say shooters, obviously it's Carmelo Anthony.
But even offensively, Carmelo opens up offenses way more. Look, Paul Pierce could never have done that with that Knicks team that lost in the first round of the Heat. Paul Pierce could have never took that Knicks team to the playoffs. Without Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, which wouldn't have been on that Knicks team, obviously. But that's my point. What did Paul Pierce do? What did Paul Pierce do before?
Don't poke the bear.
What did Paul Pierce do before that? I'll wait. Nothing. No, he did nothing. He did nothing. The Celtics were not the Celtics weren't even a notable franchise.
Is that his fault?
No, it was no. I'm not saying it was his fault. Okay, but I also
there we go.
He's not as good as people make him out to be. He couldn't carry a franchise on his own. He never could carry a franchise on his own. He was never a superstar in the NBA. He was a star. He was never a superstar in the NBA.
You can say the same thing about Carmelo, but regardless, do I think he's the first by a Hall of Famer? Hell no.
But Melo was carrying franchises to the playoffs. Paul Pierce never carried anybody to the playoffs. He got carried to the playoffs.
Carmelo carried franchises to the playoffs.
Did he not carry those Denver teams to the playoffs? Did he not carry those Knicks teams to the playoffs?
His biggest claim to fame is claiming the number 8 Denver Nuggets.
And to throw the is the rest of the team his fault in your face? Because is the rest of the team your fault in his face?
I didn't say it was his fault.
At least he was carrying those bad teams.
He had a lot more than
He never had anybody as good as KG.
Chauncey Billups and AI.
AI was definitely up towards the end of his career, though AI played very well.
Did he have Nene? I don't remember.
He had Nene for Nene's rookie career. Yeah. He had Kenyon Martin for his own rookie career, which is not fair to him for people to point out Kenyon, because Kenyon Martin was I
forgot he was on Denver. Yeah.
Kenyon Martin was literally just 2 years removed from the MVP for Melo's rookie season when they went out and got Kenyon Martin. So but people hold it against Melo that he had Kenyon Martin when it was like Melo was 19 at the time. Like it's not his fault he didn't play his best with Kenyon Martin, because if he would have had a player of that caliber 5 years later, they might do something. Not the point.
See what happens when he's an apologist to somebody? Like, he will find a reason.
Going back into...
Jesus.
The Celtics and the Wizards.
If he really gave a shit about Paul Pierce, he could totally switch that if he wanted to. But because he prefers the one, he goes with that.
Paul Pierce is not good as Carmelo Anthony.
Never will be. Look, my favorite thing of the entire season, and what sums up his career to me, outside of the freaking being carried off thing, and then coming back miraculously, which we still don't know what the fuck was his injury, was Draymond Green saying he ain't Kobe. Like, I didn't give a crap about Paul Pierce, but I don't hate him. At this point,
came real tight on that day.
It's like the Celtics fans. They're like, okay, Kobe respect. Like, I'm cool. Like, well, it's not the same thing, but I'm just like, cool, Paul Pierce, whatever. I ain't gonna miss you, but cool. You were cool. You had your little moment. More than Carmelo, you got more rings than Carmelo. Anyway, go ahead. He ain't Kobe.
He's not Kobe. He's not. All right. Anyway, so the Wizards and Celtics. This isn't as meaningless as the Jazz and the the Jazz play. Oh, they played the Clippers. This isn't as meaningless as that series, because whoever wins is probably going to go and lose to the next team. But whoever wins is going to go and maybe give the next team a run for their money to maybe go to the finals.
Because Cleveland's so good.
The Wizards and the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
They got into it a couple times last year, like physically, while they were playing basketball. This year, a couple times they got into it physically. The Wizards went out of their way at one point to literally wear all black, like they were going to a funeral on their way to a Celtics game. Which, yes or no, like to dress up as a boy band and have to motivate yourself to wear all black together as your mid-20s to go play a basketball game that you're getting paid for, is that kind of ridiculous? Because I'll be honest with you, I like team gathering things, and I like when teams do things.
I was going to say, if it was LeBron doing that, you'd be like, oh, unity.
No, I usually like those things. I find that to be one of the most ridiculous things in sports. That they literally had to dress up as a boy band and say they were acting like they were going to a funeral. And they won the game, and it worked. And anything that is WWE style in sports, I am all in on. Mm-hmm. But like that was just one of those kind of like head scratchers. Like that's like you really that's gonna help you win tonight. And they won the game, so I mean maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was a team notifying thing, and I usually believe in those things. Stop. It's just one of those that was one of the few ones that I read right through between those lines. All right. So anyways, these two teams just flat out don't like each other. It's not like necessarily a rivalry. It's just over the last 2 years, these two franchises have gone at it pretty much. It got, I wouldn't say physical in game one, but there was definitely a little bit of elbows, a little bit of shoving, a little bit of, the rebounds were pushed a little harder underneath type thing. There was nothing got out of control. The tooth situation was not on purpose. It's not like he, elbowed him in the face. But that was a freak accident that would have happened in any kind of game.
Shout out to Isaiah losing a tooth.
Losing a tooth and continuing to play.
Also, shout out to Jeff Hardy. He lost a tooth on Sunday night, on the pay-per-view. Yeah. Wow. He got cracked, too. He lost his front tooth. It was the same night. I was like, that's weird.
It's going to hurt.
Right. And I just thought it was ironic and funny that both of them happened on the same day. And everybody was like, Isaiah. I was like, yeah, Jeff Hardy too, but
I don't like the Celtics ever. I'm usually totally 110% against the Celtics.
But
shout out to Isaiah for
absolutely.
What was it? Friday they won their last game to end that series. Thursday or Friday, he literally flew right from that game to his home state of Washington across the country. Did all of the stuff with the family, put his sister to rest, and then flew back and played a phenomenal game one. the physicality of having to fly across country twice in a matter of 2 days and playing 2 basketball games on the outside of them is hard enough. To score 30 plus in both those basketball games and then the last one to play as well as he did in game 1 is impressive. So, like, shout out to him, not just on what he had to deal with emotionally, but physically. That is not easy to do. Right. And then, on top of it, obviously, none of us can understand what he's going through emotionally because that is not anything that we can put ourselves in. So, shout out to him for being able to just fight the way he is. It's still an impressive story. I feel like it's something that is still talked about, but I feel like it's not something that... Even if they make it to the finals, I feel like it's something that's still going to weigh on his heart and his mind heavy every single day until the end of the season. And I feel like it's not something that people are going to give enough credit to the further they go along. You know what I mean? Now that we're a week removed, 2 weeks removed, 3 weeks removed.
Because we're not talking about it as much.
And that's my thing.
It's kind of a footnote now.
But
like, his sister died.
But to me, it is still super impressive for him to have to go through all these emotions and still do that on top of the physicality that he had to do. So shout out to him. Game 1 was good. I'll be honest with you. I thought the Wizards would win Game 1. I have them winning the series. I think the series is going to go 6 or 7. I think it's a very competitive thing. I think the Wizards are a little better, but with the Morris injury, Morris got injured in Game 1. I'll be honest with you. The way Rondo his injury swung the first series for the Celtics, I think this is another one that swings the series for the Celtics because I felt like Morris
Game 1,
was the only one who compete with their bigs, and then because they have the better guard play on top of how good as Isaiah's playing, and nothing against Avery Bradley, he's just not as good as Beal is. So then you have Wall who offsets one, and then Beal who's going to beat the other one. I felt like that was going to be the difference. Morris getting hurt, honestly, could be the difference through the entire series, and the Celtics might be able to manhandle them and just throw the ball down low over and over and over and own the series. We'll see when, obviously, as of this recording, there is no timetable on Morris coming back yet. So,
no.
Who do you have winning the series?
Game 1, they were up, Washington was up 16-0.
Yes, they started 16-0.
Literally, I was like, I feel like Boston might just... Not even just Isaiah, but Boston in general. Like, they're worn out. Like, they gave everything. Yeah. They're emotionally...
To beat the Bulls.
They're emotionally and physically drained. They gave all they had. They won a 7-game series, a 6-game series, whatever it was. Yeah. And, I feel like I was like,
They had to win 4 in a row.
They put... Right. They put so much into winning 4 in a row that I was like, okay, maybe they gave up everything that they could, and this is the result. Now they're down 16-0 and about to get blown out.
Yeah.
Then they bounced back and they end up winning, and Isaiah, of all people in that situation, balled out harder than anybody. Yes. I was like, you know what? No, they're not done. And I in the middle of that, I assumed Boston in general, but then I was leaning towards, maybe they're just worn out.
Right.
But after seeing Game 1 and how that unfolded and how they bounced back and Isaiah balled the hell out, I'm taking them in 6. I definitely think that Washington has more, especially with the 2 guards. I feel like they can definitely... Those 2 alone should completely manhandle the Celtics. But I think that maybe instead of them being completely exhausted and completely worn out and just, defeated as a team, maybe they're just riding this momentum. And maybe, you win 4 in a row and went out at this recording 5 in a row. Maybe they're just riding this momentum and they might just carry it enough that they can get through another series. I think that they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I said it about the Celtics before the first series. And I still feel this way about them, but they still might be able to figure out their kind of niche way through it. I felt like if Isaiah was their best player, which Isaiah is their best player, if a point guard is your best player in the playoffs, I felt like you're going to need a wing player as your best player. Because as good as he is, it is played on the wings. It is played with your forwards. It is played almost with your centers. So you're going to need that big physical presence, and I thought that Jimmy Butler was going to be the big difference. He was going to be the big physical presence on the difference. We're talking about a Wizards team here who their best players are at the guards position, so it matches up better for the Celtics in this series.
Maybe.
Even though I thought that the better guard play came from the Wizards, I still felt like the Wizards had the better overall team because they had the better guard play. But now you have... If Isaiah can play the way he is with Morris going down, if the Celtics can get what they can down low, that will find their way. They just, again, it does lead to the problem of if they make it to the next round and if that next team that they have to play, even if it's actually Toronto, but for the most part, we all think it's going to be Cleveland. If it is Cleveland that they have to play, they don't have that wing player to match up with the LeBrons and whatnot. But and it's not just LeBron. I mean that if they have to play the Toronto as well, they don't have the player that can match up with DeRozan.
But we're talking about the series. And
with this series, I feel like they got a really good draw because I feel like if Atlanta wins, Atlanta beats the Wizards, I feel like Atlanta might have the better wing play to be able to offset what Isaiah would do. And
Celtics beat the Wizards, not Atlanta. But
I know, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if Atlanta would have beat the Wizards,
Okay.
then they would be playing the Celtics right now. And I felt like Atlanta might match up better than the Wizards do. Like the Celtics might have got a good draw, and with Morris going down, they might have gotten an even better draw with the Wizards. Even though the Wizards beat them 2 or 3 times this year.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Celtics with the Morris injury. I feel like if Morris was in there, I would give the Wizards more of a chance, and I might even pick the Wizards. I'm going to flip my pick, though, because of this Morris injury, and I do feel like the Celtics are going to get it done. Isaiah's also, you can't, on top of really understand how he's feeling, you can't account for the motivation he's playing with as well, because he does, as good as he looked all season,
better and better.
As good as he looked all season, he does look a little more motivated during right now, ever since everything happened. He has been playing a little more specifically better.
You got to think about it. This is his way of just
getting away.
Right. He's letting loose, and even if it's
Yes.
Even if it's, at a timeout and he randomly thinks of it, it's like, damn, or he's at a free throw line, he's like, damn.
But
in the moment while he's playing,
when the ball's getting inbounded to him,
he ain't thinking about
walking down the court, he's thinking about the plays, thinking about
he's not thinking about it. He's thinking about being Isaiah Thomas on a basketball court. And
finding the open shot.
And up until this point, it's working for him.
So
hey, shout out to him for
we're
that.
both going to take the Celtics, and I'll be honest with you, for almost thinking the Celtics weren't going to get out of first round, it is a 360 for me to think that they were going to make it the whole way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. I am impressed with not just the circumstances that they were given and get to how they've gotten to, but I'm impressed with how they were playing.
That's the thing; they're getting better. They're not just winning now. They're
I hate giving the
Celtics
playing
better and better, but
any credit. But
I have to this year.
No, but I've been saying it for a while. That coach Brad Stevens, man, he is in one of the most underrated coaches in sports, more or less the NBA.
Given the circumstances, like I said before, if you're rooting against this team, if you feel some type of way, then you're just a POS.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm a Sixers fan, and I don't root for the Celtics ever. I'm not hoping that the Celtics keep advancing, but it is hard to ignore.
No, I'm not saying I want them to win the title. Even I root against that situation.
I'll root against them. Yeah, but we're on the same page. It's hard not to at least acknowledge.
They get to the second round of it. The fact that they got to the second round is cool with me. If they get to the third round, hey, hats off to them at that point.
So the team that they would play would be the winner of the Cleveland and Toronto series.
So the winner of. So they basically facing the Celtics, the Cavaliers then, is what we're saying. So winner of Washington versus Boston will be facing the Cavaliers. Got it. Thank you.
So we're done with the Cleveland and Toronto series?
I don't know. I mean, I should probably
stop
disrespecting Toronto, but I just can't help myself.
Look, Lowry hasn't played consistent through the playoffs, and I know he's coming off an injury going into the playoffs, but he hasn't played consistent in those first games. Look, if they struggle with the Bucks the way that they struggle with the Bucks, it is hard for either of us to give them full-on credit and say that they're going to take Cleveland to the brink. Nothing against the Bucks, but the Bucks didn't even have Jabari Parker, their second-best player.
1-2, I mean... The Bucks probably should have won that ass game if it wasn't
without their second best player, Jabari Parker.
Giannis made a horrible decision.
He did. It's not just one game though. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I continue to shrug Toronto off, and I'm very disappointed because to me, Giannis and Westbrook were the two most exciting people
in the playoffs.
Especially for casual fans that maybe they can get behind. Maybe more so Westbrook than Giannis. But something that people can grab towards. Like, to me, we didn't even talk about, but when Westbrook got eliminated, when the Thunder got eliminated, to me that eliminated the casual fan because what do they have to gravitate towards outside of LeBron and the Warriors, which both things people hate and love.
I agree that if you don't watch the NBA consistently and you really only watch it during the playoffs and you're tired of Cleveland and Golden State, which people are tired of.
What do you gravitate towards?
It was without question, it was going to be the Greek Freak or Westbrook.
Right. I think it was definitely more so Westbrook than Freak.
Isaiah would be now the third draw.
Yeah.
He would be
considering his circumstances.
Right. And before that happened, I agree with you that Isaiah would, even if he was playing this well, wouldn't be the draw. He wouldn't be a draw. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
So that's kind of my thing with Toronto is that I'm more so disappointed the Bucks lost, but that's how little faith I have is that I'm talking about the Bucks and instead of Toronto in this situation. Like I feel like you said, they did struggle. Yeah, they also dominated as well. It was kind of back and forth. It was a sloppy mess of the series, and
that was a team that they should have dominated through 4 or 5 games instead of only dominating 2 of 5 games.
I mean, I get their length, but. And you could say, okay, outside of LeBron, who's lengthy on the Cavs? I mean, that entire Bucks team was lengthy, so I mean, it's not going to be the same. But
DeRozan and
you would also say that the Cavaliers
20 plus twice in that series together.
Right, exactly. You would also say that the Cavaliers are a much better team, regardless of how much more length that Bucks have.
The only way Toronto beats Cleveland is if for 4 games and they win all 4 games, they need DeRozan and Lowry both to go off for 20 plus. They couldn't do that for more than 2 games in the series against a worse defensive team.
God, I don't even know if I could put a number on this. Like, I got
them at 5, and I don't think Cleveland should.
I'm leaning towards 5. I just feel like I'm disrespecting Toronto, which
I do too,
have been known to do. But
I like Ibaka, I like DeRozan, I like Lowry when they're all playing well. I just think that Cleveland, outside of the rest factor that they might have been off for too many days, hot take, right?
I'll go 5 as well. You know what? I'll go 5 as well. But I do need to see how the first game, the second game go to.
It's gonna take a second, but
as much as I still kind of have fallen back on the whole Cleveland thing, they also just dominated the first round. But it was the first round. But that's who they played. So I mean, it is what it is.
On top
Indiana.
of that,
so it's not gonna be a sweep. I'll put it that way. It won't be a sweep.
And again, it was Indiana. It's one team. It's one series.
It's not gonna be a sweep.
It will not be a sweep. But the numbers of when LeBron was on the court to when he was not for Cleveland were so far off that when LeBron is playing, it's going to be very hard for if he plays the way he played that first round for Toronto to get anything off.
That's the thing is that but once he's on the bench, I mean Toronto has enough of a team right now.
Yes, I agree.
I feel like there are 3 other starters. There are 3 big starters.
They got Ibaka, DeRozan, and they got.
As much as I love Kyrie, as much as I
loves a ball, he could play. He could play.
I don't see those 2 matching the other
DeRozan,
2 on the other side.
Ibaka, and Lowry. No way. I agree.
So, I won't say it's a sweep. I'll give him at least 5.
It
might be 6, but I'll be honest with you. I'll go Cleveland.
Even though I feel like Cleveland's going to win this and win this fairly easily, I'm excited to watch Tristan Thompson and Ibaka go at it down low for the entire series because, I mean, at least there is some kind of intrigue outside of LeBron, Lowry, and DeRozan. You know what I mean? You have Tristan Thompson's versus Ibaka down low, like an actual one-on-one matchup that you're going to watch every single game for the series for probably 25 to 30 minutes on the court.
We'll see.
I agree, Cleveland in that one.
You just have to. And it's one of those things where it's like a prove me wrong in the opposite sense. It's like, okay, Cleveland, prove me that you can't go to the finals. You can't go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
So,
you know what I mean?
So, are we good with the NBA playoffs? Are we...
Yeah, I think so. We covered a lot.
I feel like we covered all the series that are going on.
Every aspect.
We have our who we think's going to win and whatnot. I was going to kind of go into the NHL playoffs, but they're moving so fastly that honestly, next week...
I'm not saying we in the finals yet.
When we get to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, next week, I'll throw way more into the NHL. But they are moving so rapidly and so fastly that by the time this is recorded and put up, they're going to be in a whole different plateau than what we're looking for. Where at least next week, it slows down.
Keep saying that every week.
Yeah, but it slows down. When it gets to the Eastern Conference and then the Stanley Cup, it slows down enough for me to actually put my opinions out there and get it out there, and it will be ready for when they're playing. It does roll on quickly, which is what we was on my last week.
And we love that.
That's
the way it should be.
And look, what I will say about the NHL playoffs, even the blowouts have been great. Like the NHL playoffs have been as good as they always are advertised to be. Like they have been phenomenal, and they just getting better. There was another double overtime game just the other day between the Rangers and Ottawa. It was so fun. Ottawa was down 6-4 with 4 minutes to go. They tied the game up 6-6 going to double over, and then they played 2 periods without scoring. It was awesome. Anyways, so moving on from the NHL and the NBA to a combat sport before we get to the draft.
Right.
We are guys who, you more than me, who at least try to pay attention to the one-on-one combat sports, the UFC.
Yep.
I try to pay attention a little more at boxing than I do the UFC. Right. There was a big boxing match last week.
Oh, don't remind me.
A heavyweight title was transferred.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me.
Klitschko,
because I should just turn in whatever card I had about being a fight expert.
Klitschko got his head banged in at the end. It was fun though. What a fight! I watched the YouTube replay of it. I did not watch it live. I was working. I knew when it was. I knew the day it was. I didn't know the time it was. I thought I would be able to watch it live after work. I did not realize that it was done while I was actually working.
I had no idea what was going on. You told me at some point last week. I don't remember.
Who are my two guys fighting this week, Dwight?
This week? This coming week?
Yeah.
Canelo versus Julio Cesar Chavez.
I cannot wait for Canelo versus Chavez. All right. We're getting into that. Mm-hmm. So you didn't watch the fight this weekend?
No, and I'm really irritated and pissed off that I didn't because I heard
Klitschko lost.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was such a good fight between
that's what irritates me is that I heard it was an amazing fight. First of all, let's talk about how they were in Wembley Stadium. Mm-hmm. They sold out the arena, but yet it seemed like
80,000, right?
Over 80,000, yeah,
for a boxing match
in Wembley Stadium.
They said boxing's dead.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, shout out to American sports and American journalism and, everything.
That's where I was going to go.
Where we're talking about, the heavyweight divisions there, which, I mean, it kind of has been floundering, and it still is.
Across the world, it's just dead here.
But then you have Wembley Stadium of all stadiums in England. You got the hometown boy, but I mean, it's still 90,000 people. It's sold out in 2017. A boxing heavyweight fight sold out. Some dude is he's 27 years old against a 41-year-old. It's sold out.
Not just this upcoming matchup. I'm talking about even the matchup that happened this past weekend that didn't have any Latino influence on it.
None.
The Latino fan base is still huge for boxing.
Yeah, they still show up.
But the rest of the world, from every
this is what I'm saying.
Culture outside of America, boxing is not dead. It's just dead in America.
That's what's BS to me.
And we used to think it was dead.
Right.
And we love watching it. We love watching boxing.
It's one of those things where, especially frankly, with our age at this point, I can't It's like back in the day, like in the early 2000s, when I would damn, WWE sucks. And people would say, well, watch Ring of Honor. Watch these promotions that aren't on TV, but you have to go out your way to try to find.
Right.
And it's like, well, damn, that's a lot of work. I don't have to do all that every single week. It's kind of the same thing with boxing, where it's like, okay, boxing is still good if you really look into it, but I ain't got time to sit and have to research, that type of thing. I just don't. And, that's why I'm saying shout out to freaking America, I don't feel like this was advertised. And yet...
It wasn't.
It was a huge deal.
So I knew that they were fighting. We talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were going to the bar. I remember you and I having a quick conversation about it, and then we were talking actually more about the upcoming fight.
Right.
But I forgot about it until I think it was Friday. I heard a little clip of it that somebody talked about, and I was like, oh, I got to make sure I watch that on Saturday. And then it was over by the time I got off work.
It's absolutely disgusting. I haven't even seen
I watched it on YouTube.
I saw the highlight of...
Klitschko getting hit at the end?
Yeah, I saw that, but outside that, I have no idea. It went 11 rounds.
Yes. It was good. It was fun. Okay, so then we're not going to cover that. It was a great fight. If you have time to go look it up, look it up.
You know what's the kid's name? Anthony Joshua. Shout out to him. He's 19-0, which is insane.
Yeah.
Because that's actually...
I guess we didn't even mention Anthony Joshua's name.
No, he's...
I kept calling the Klitschko fight.
Yeah, right. That's because
people on the other side are going to know Klitschko more than know Anthony Joshua. When I say I would say Anthony Joshua fight, they wouldn't understand what I was saying. I kept saying Klitschko because he was the bigger name in the fight.
The fact that he's 19-0, I mean, that's impressive. But I was like, damn, that's a relatively small number. But he's 19-0. You would hope. I hope that and I'm going to try to pay attention more. So
catch a couple more of his fights.
Yeah, definitely. I hope that he can carry this division. And,
his manager said that he wants to actually bring, because he doesn't fight in America a whole lot, he wants to bring a fight to America.
Let's slow our roll.
I'd like to see it.
No, let's get an opponent, because we don't...
to America.
Boxing doesn't... No.
I agree.
No, because there's nobody in the heavyweight division,
I want to see
especially from the American perspective. Like, who do we care about? We don't care about anybody.
Have the matchup, have the refight against Klitschko in Vegas. Because Vegas does, or no?
We don't care. We don't care. He's going to be, 41, 42 at that point?
But it was such a good fight that there's going to be a rematch at this point. There's going to be a rematch.
Yeah, but towards the end,
I don't disagree. But my thing is...
That's the problem with boxing. There's no star, and then when you do have somebody to kind of, peaks,
yes or no?
There's nobody to face it, because there's never two at the same time anymore.
I'll give you that. But yes or no, the most lit...
Outside of another division
the most lit place... I know how good Wembley was, but the most lit place to have a heavyweight fight is still Vegas, without question.
I don't see it.
Those two in Vegas would be fun. All right, well,
I don't see it.
Let's go with this upcoming weekend, because this is a fight that the two of us have been brainstorming how we are going to watch this. I don't know where, when, or how. All I know is I'm going to be with you with some beers in my hand watching this fight on Saturday.
Preferably with some wings, but yeah.
Give a little preview.
I don't even know where to begin with this fight. First of all, again, I just want to say shout out to America for, the lack of advertising. Granted, this has been advertised a little bit more. It's still not to the level that I feel like it needs to be. The fact that bars have been contacting in our area asking who's going to show it, and not a damn one of them are going to.
From Pennsylvania area, we cannot find
it's trash. It's
one bar that's going to hold this boxing match.
This is one of the biggest fights in years in boxing, outside of Mayweather fights.
I mean, that fight last week was probably the biggest one since the Mayweather-Pacquiao one. This is probably the biggest one other than that.
They're saying that, and articles and boxing experts are saying this is the biggest fight in Mexican boxing history.
Yes, it is.
But we're not. They're not talking about it at all. But you got Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which is 52-1, 32 knockouts. Canelo Alvarez is 48-1-1, 34 knockouts. So it's kind of, on the same par as far as that's concerned. But the thing about Julio Cesar Chavez is that people feel like, he's 31, Canelo's is 26. People feel like Chavez isn't taking boxing career seriously anymore. And when you see that the numbers are actually really similar, you can kind of see that. Like he's 31 years old. Canelo's 26, but the numbers are similar.
Yes.
And then when you look at his history, which is what I did, he had one fight in 2014. He had 2 fights in 2015, but then he only had 1 fight in 2016. Most boxers have at least two fights a year. 2 to 3 fights a year, and that's what Canelo has been doing. The past, 3 or 4 years with Chavez Jr., he hasn't been fighting as often. Like, they feel like he's been slacking, whether he doesn't care or he doesn't have an opponent. I don't know which it is. A lot of experts are saying he just doesn't care, and that might be the case. I think
he might not have the opponent.
I think it might be more so that than he just doesn't care anymore.
He's got to take this one serious. He's got to take this one serious.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're facing Canelo is, man, he's such a brawler. He's a dude that can knock you the hell out. And I feel like that's what this fight's going to come down to. 2 dudes are just going to beat the hell out of each other, and you hope. I'm taking Canelo just on the general purpose that he is the younger guy. I feel like his victory would be much better for the sport of boxing in general. I don't feel like you can give a victory with a 31-year-old that doesn't give a shit supposedly about boxing should get a victory and it would be a situation that would help the sport of boxing. If Canelo wins, there's a situation where, and you were going to mention it, the Triple G thing in September.
Yes.
Because Triple G, he canceled his fight this summer because supposedly he wants the winner of this fight and he's going to be in attendance. So in my opinion, the best thing that boxing could have...
I kept calling, what's his name, Triple G earlier for some reason.
Chavez Jr.
Yeah, no, I kept calling Klitschko Triple G.
The best thing for boxing, the sport of boxing, in my opinion, would be for Canelo to get this victory this weekend. In a lengthy bout, maybe 10, 11 rounds.
Yeah.
In a knockout fashion. He gets the victory. Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, and boxing in general gets their shit together and actually gets Canelo versus Triple G in September. Get that to happen. To me, that's the next big payday in boxing. Because I looked it up. Canelo, he doesn't sell. His last big sell was with Mayweather, which was his last loss in 2013. Right. It drew 2 million people.
Yep.
On his own, Canelo...
He doesn't do a lot.
Alvarez hasn't drawn 1 million. He's only drawn 900,000. So, but I feel like him versus Triple G, because Triple G has kind of that...
Yes, a following.
He has a bit of a following in America. At least people know of him.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that's enough where you throw those two, brawling heavyweight knockout artists out there. I feel like that's going to get some buys. It's going to pull $1 million. I don't know if this pulls $1 million. It might. Yeah. I'm buying it. In some capacity, we're buying it. But
somehow. We're going to watch it.
But I don't know... I don't think on his own he can do it. He needs... to get a Triple G situation, and to me, that's the best case scenario for boxing.
I'll be honest with you, I don't just throw things to you usually, and I just threw that to you because I knew that you were going to put that in a way that I couldn't sum it up any better. Everything you just said, I totally agree with. There needs to be something in the terms of that fight in the future, even if the outcome isn't he wins this match. Those two need to fight in the future.
That's what we talked about a year ago. Nobody, as much as, I'd watch, and you'd watch Chavez versus Triple G.
Of course we would.
No, it's Canelo.
That would be the fight that everyone is looking for.
That's what I was getting at was having a star in the sport. Canelo is just this close to being a star they need, but he's not. He's still not there. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if he balls out and it goes lengthy, well, even if it's a quick one, if he wins this weekend, I feel like it's great for the sport. And then you go Triple G, and then you promote that. I feel like it's a great deal, especially for America.
For the sport,
maybe we'll give a shit again.
For the sport of boxing, especially in America, I think the fight this weekend needs to go 7+ rounds. Or else...
Definitely. I want 10. I'd say at least 8.
I would like to see that. But I'm saying at least it needs to go 7+ rounds for this to actually generate the steam moving forward. That this
fight just happened.
That we would like, that we would like boxing to get in America. What? Hopefully it's a good fight this week.
Needs to be.
Moving on from that, the thing I started the show off and complained about, too much coverage of, the NFL draft happened Thursday through, Saturday of last week. Before we actually talk about the things that happened in the draft, not a pat on the back, because I feel like the pat on the back people have been trying to give the city of Philadelphia is ridiculous. More of a, I am proud that Philadelphia showed up the way they did for the draft, because it was...
That's such a stupid Philadelphia thing to say.
They said it was a festival feel. No, they said it was a festival feel, like a festival in the sense of like Made in America happens in Philadelphia, like the music festival. Coachella, which happens in California. Like, they said it was like that kind of atmosphere. I meant proud in the sense of like there was no, they didn't deface anything in the city. They didn't, like, you go to an Eagles game, okay? I've been to a couple of home Eagles games. You go to an Eagles game, somebody around you is usually, not just an Eagles game, I've been to actually a couple of different NFL stadiums. So I don't want to just limit this to Philadelphia, but I will limit to Philadelphia because Philadelphia was the one hosting the draft. There's always a fight, not just Philadelphia. I've been to games where it wasn't Philadelphia even was there and there have been fights. Like, fights happen at almost every NFL game across the board, okay? There was no arrest made during this particular thing. And that's not just shout out to Philly, that's shout out to the people who came into Philly and were respectful enough to Philly in general to not just start causing fights, because I feel like that's half the problem is that out-of-towners come in and then you got people on the home field, no matter if you're in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, Seattle. And then it's a bad combination and people are drinking and partying. They said that there was no losers during that draft, right? So it was just like everyone's there to party and have a good time. I mean, there was losers, don't get me wrong. But like it's not a game. It's not like the same kind of edge and atmosphere. And they said it was one of the wildest events ever for the NFL, and it was easily the wildest draft atmosphere times 10. That is, and I know that you hate Philadelphia, so it doesn't matter to you. But that is that is really cool. Like, that is really cool. And you were the only person who even because I've listened to many people. I listen to a lot of people who don't like Philadelphia because I like to, you know me, I like to hear both sides of every coin. Even the people who don't like Philadelphia were propping up how awesome it was that Philadelphia turned out the way they did for the draft. So whether how you feel or not, I know me and the rest of America are like, that was one of the coolest things because the draft is boring, the draft is annoying, the draft is not something that people who actually follow sports for the most part care too much about in the sense of as it goes pick by pick. That was a way to get people, and I watched the playoff games. I did not watch the actual draft. I watched I ended up rewatching parts of the draft, and I watched how the first 10 picks have unfolded because I wanted to see it, and I wanted to see the atmosphere, and I wanted to see what everyone was trying to tell me about, and it was wild, crazy. It was. I've been to a couple music festivals. It was that lit feeling.
The reason
I know you don't like Philadelphia in general, so I didn't care how you felt. You were literally, and I knew you were going to be the one person that had a problem with it or didn't care and were like, whatever. Yeah. Everybody else, even people who hate Philly, and I'm cool with it, even people who hate Philly were all in on how awesome it was and how awesome the atmosphere was.
Okay, now that you gave your little spiel about Philadelphia, per norm.
I want them to take this as a traveling roadshow, like across all of America, and
that's
continue
more so
to
my
have
point.
this.
Whereas, yes, it would.
No, but I want that feeling to happen from now on. Like, Chicago didn't do it well enough.
I didn't even say what I said.
New York didn't do justice.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't even say what I was going to say. So
I want them to do it justice.
I don't know how point number 8 just came out your mouth. But anyway, my point was, whereas, yes, was it impressive in the sense of how it turned out? Yes, and that. But my thing where I'm just like, okay, let's pump the brakes was more so, and yes, Philadelphia started it, and shout out to them, but I feel like you could have done that in any city, just from the perspective of, like, they could have went to New York, they could have went to, say, Chicago, they could have done a Florida thing. Listen, they could, but the problem is that in years past, it was always that closed venue. For the first time, it was opened up like that.
No, Chicago the last 2 years has had, they said they had the available to have over 100,000 people in Chicago the last 2 years. It was, I remember last year.
I don't feel like it was.
Last year was the first outdoor one. Like, the first one in Chicago.
Yeah, but it wasn't nearly, I don't know, it wasn't presented in a way that it was, I don't know.
The atmosphere was different because of the fans, and I know, and like that's seriously, it was because of the way the fans reacted.
Yeah, definitely.
The fans in Chicago,
I'm not even shitting on it as much as you are being really defensive of Philadelphia right now, and very high strong of Philadelphia.
I mean, in the sense of the fans in Chicago, nothing against them. They didn't show out in that much drones, and they didn't show out in the sense of, like, even if you, it doesn't necessarily matter to me the amount of people. I mean the atmosphere. They didn't have the atmosphere. And New York had it for like 25 plus years, and the atmosphere was never that. The atmosphere was different, but I want them to take it. Yeah.
You know why? Okay, are you calm now? You are so high.
I have a couple more points of how I want to take it. No, outside of Philadelphia. Outside of Philadelphia is where I want to go.
This is why we can't talk about Philadelphia on the show, because he would just.
But I'm trying to say outside of Philadelphia. I'm trying to say they should make this. You know how College Game Day has become...
and they're going to. They're going to. It's going to happen. It's going to continue to build, and it's going to, wherever the hell it goes next, it's only going to get bigger and better from here on out. And you could definitely say, yeah, this was Philadelphia, and this year's draft was the foundation of what is definitely coming. It's going to get bigger and better next year. Yeah, definitely.
I think they should do it like College Game Day, like traveling roadshow that College Game Day is, where it goes to different places, and that's going to.
That's where we're at.
I want it to go I want to do that across all of America.
That's where we're getting at. Philadelphia in all sports is definitely a more rowdy crowd. So I don't know if it will always have that edge, but I do feel like
I'll give you that. But
I do feel like the attendance could have been I'm more so looking at it from the attendance perspective that I feel like that could have been done anywhere. It just so happened to be
the attendance could have happened anywhere.
Where you have a more rally crowd.
I think that you needed a crowd to make the attendance and then throw the atmosphere out there for it to go forward that way. Like Chicago had the opportunity to do that, it just didn't land in that way. It was a perfect formula of what happened this time around. And the reason I meant to say on the game day traveling roadshow is because they're talking about how it's a 95% chance of it just going back to Philly next year. And as a Philly guy, that's awesome. That's cool. You're not going to recreate that twice, though. So what you need to do is take it other places and come back to Philly in 5 or 10 years. Even if it's only in 5 years. Even if you only get 4 more cities and you come back to Philly and have it crazy again in Philly because the other cities don't work for whatever. Make it a traveling thing and then come back to Philly, even though you know the logistics. And that's a hard thing. The NFL, to their credit, pulled off a very hard thing. They had over 100,000 people, it was 90,000 people, in a small little area, multiple days in a row in Philadelphia, and there was no problems, there was no drama, there was no police anything, there was no vandalization of anything. The NFL had entertainment throughout the whole thing. Like, they did a good job of controlling the environment, making it that atmosphere, and then allowing Philadelphia to kind of show that, as you said, party atmosphere edge or whatever, the little rowdiness of that they have in them. Do you think... Because, they're saying, the NFL in general is saying now they want to take the draft back to Philly. They even want to, they were talking about having another East Coast Super Bowl where you have it in a cold weather city. Now they're talking. No, they're literally saying, they literally put Philadelphia, and I don't think Philadelphia's going to get, I don't think they're going to get 2021 as the Super Bowl, but I'm saying they literally threw Philadelphia in there as a 2021 option for the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to get it.
People are forever going to argue the Northeast.
Oh, no, they don't want it to ever be in the Northeast.
And nor should it be, in my opinion.
I'm cool if it is. I don't think Philly's as I'm a Philly guy. I am a Philly guy. If you're ever going to do it in the Northeast, you have to always do it at MetLife. I don't care what you say. If you always do it in the Northeast, it always has to go to New York City. Yeah. And I'm a Philly guy. I do not like New York City. I am a Philly guy. And as crazy as the draft was, if you're going to the Northeast, you have to always, if you're going to have it in a cold weather city, it has to go to New York every time because that's the biggest area to do it. It's the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So...
Are we done slurping Philadelphia?
Well, see, they're saying that it's going to be Philadelphia next year as a 95% chance.
No way.
They said 95% chance.
And then they said a lot. They said...
Well, they had Chicago back-to-back years, and they had New York for 25 straight years. So, I mean, I believe them.
Who's
the NFL. The NFL. I believe them that they're saying...
Are they experts?
Only God's an expert already.
I was going to say, because, all these experts said all these quarterbacks weren't going to be drafted.
Well, so that was going to be...
I don't care
what I was actually going to get into.
I don't care what anybody says about the NFL
draft
anymore.
itself. We went from, and I'm a huge college football fan. We went from the day after the national championship where Deshaun Watson led his Clemson Tigers to this great victory, last seconds of the game, all this other stuff. We went from that night that we woke up the next day. Everyone's talking about, all right, here we go, start talking about the draft. The day after the national championship, there wasn't one quarterback in anyone's mock draft that went in the first round. There wasn't one quote-unquote quarterback talent. And from that day to the day of the draft, they were talking anywhere from 1 to 4 quarterbacks being taken in the first round because of things that they did in shorts and a t-shirt, not things they did actually on a football field. That's a whole different topic for another different day. The Chicago Bears... Everyone said across the board that the highest ceiling potential is Mitch Trubisky, whatever his mom wants him to go by. I forget which one. They had the 3rd pick. They need a quarterback. Well, they don't need a quarterback because they just signed Mike Glennon to $50+ million over 3 years. But they feel like they need a quarterback. Now, before we get into the actual trade that they did, this might shape your mind a little differently when I say this.
It won't.
I know, because it didn't shape mine all that much differently, but it made me at least look at it from a different angle, I guess. They had the opportunity last year to trade up to 2nd, because they were 3rd last year. They had the opportunity to trade up to 2nd and take Carson Wentz. And they decided that, oh no, we'll wait and let Carson Wentz fall to us. They apparently have regretted that decision every day since, because, well, they ended up with what as their quarterback last year? Do you know what I mean? Like, not even just the sense of Carson Wentz. It was that they ended up with basically no quarterback last year that they ended up being worried about.
I don't know. Jay Cutler's so good, so I almost don't know.
I like Jay Cutler. I just, he's not the future
he's
of...
so good. I almost know.
So, the Bears, this year...
Bears are going to Bears.
Didn't do enough last year to go get the guy that they wanted. So this year, they traded up 1 pick. They traded 4 picks for that 1 pick. By the way, that pick that they traded up to go, the player they traded up to go get wasn't going to be picked in that 1 pick. The way that Carson Wentz was going to be picked in that 1 pick before them.
They got finessed, bro.
Man,
I literally tweeted out immediately.
The
Bears got finessed. They got played. They got shown up, disrespected. Throw whatever adjective if you want to. They got played.
Trying to take shots at our. I'm not trying to take any shots at our president in any way, shape, or form, right? But he had zero job experience going into what he's doing. And sometimes, if you pay attention to what he's doing, it shows that he had zero job experience going into doing what he's doing. John Lynch had zero job experience going into what he's doing. It does not look like this man had zero job experience going into what he was doing, considering he just played an entire NFL franchise on his own into getting 4 picks for 1.
I mean, you say that.
He fell back 1 spot.
I mean, you say that, and I saw a lot of people giving John Lynch the credit, and I'm just like, I mean, that's just common sense. If you knew you weren't getting him, and you said, "Oh, I'm gonna give you 3 more picks," and you wait. All you gotta do is just lie. I don't feel like that has anything to do with being a GM.
So
that's just being a guy with a brain.
You think he was just like, "Hey, yo."
Just be a guy with a brain. Like, wait, so you mean you tell me all I gotta do is lie to this guy and he's gonna give me? Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely take him. Like, I could have said that.
The Jets just called and said they're going to trade for this pick, and they're going to take Trubisky. Do you want him or not?
I don't feel like that took. To me, that doesn't take. It doesn't take. I mean, everybody wants to give him the credit. I'm just going to be that guy that's going to give him partial credit. Like, I don't feel like that took skill. Like, I feel like that was just a common sense thing. Like, if I'm not taking this pick, and I know that, and I know that you want it, you're telling me you want to give me all this. Oh, yeah.
Let me try to put this in a
we are so taking him. Yes, we are. You're going to give me 3 more picks? Okay, yes, sir.
Because I don't disagree with what you're saying there, but let me put it in this way. What about they are an organization that doesn't have a quarterback right now and all the pressure in the world to start 49ers. Okay. And what they did was they traded away their potential to go get that quarterback that everyone else was high out on, and they got 4 picks for him instead of picking him. But on their draft board, they might not have Trubisky as that high guy.
They might not have had him at all. 2, nobody had him that high. So I mean,
right? No, I give you that, and I don't disagree. That's
what I'm saying. It didn't take anybody but you or me to say, well, yeah, we're just going to play this.
But I think it's easier for you and I to sit here and say, well, yeah, on the sense of they are an organization in the NFL. Yes or no? Do not most organizations press really hard for that next guy, for that next quarterback? I mean, look at the Browns, and I know the Browns are a bad example.
They weren't that team,
but. They did. I think they made the right move. Obviously, not just in that situation. I don't think they made the right move if they were to kept their 2nd overall pick and not pick Trubisky, because I don't think Trubisky's going to be the answer in the future. They had It was the 2nd. They had the 2nd overall pick. They traded back to the 3rd.
I thought it was the 3rd to the 4th.
They might have been the 3rd to the 4th. It doesn't matter. Well, who was the first one? It was no. They had the 2nd overall pick because the first one was the defensive end from A&M who went to the Browns, and then the 2nd overall was Trubisky to the Bears.
Okay.
3 quarterbacks in the first round. 3 quarterbacks in the first round.
People reaching out here.
Deshaun Watson is going to have a good situation with Houston.
Allegedly, this whole "We Love Houston" movement going on.
Apparently, I like Deshaun Watson. I thought that he was one of the better quarterbacks, anyways, out of all of them in the draft.
Apparently, I'm not even just saying you. I'm just saying in general. Apparently, the "We Love Houston" movement is still moving on, despite what went down last year, and apparently, it's still just a quarterback. This isn't, like, my point is, like, it's not Tony Romo going into the situation. We're talking about a rookie quarterback going into the situation.
Yeah.
They're falling off. Like,
he's not going to be Dak Prescott.
Tell me, right, no. They're going to fall off. It's going to slow up.
Yeah, okay.
At least momentum is going to halt. I won't say it's done and it's not going to happen in a couple of years, but the momentum, I think, is going the other way.
I think Bill O'Brien and Watson together are going to be good. I'll give you that. The immediate effect isn't going to be as high. Yeah, I still think Bill O'Brien is a great quarterback coach.
Halfway through last year, you said, I don't know what happened. Now all of a sudden
I didn't know what happened with one quarterback. I will still take everything he did from the time that he left New England till now and say, if you're going to give me out of all of those seasons, that's what, 7 seasons, 1 year he had bad quarterback play, I'll take that. In the Big Ten and then in the NFL, yeah, if you're telling me out of 1 year he had bad quarterback play, and if you still give me all the stats that it took him, what, 7? He had 7 different quarterbacks and made the playoffs twice in a row with 7 different quarterbacks. I'm cool if one year in 7 years he had bad quarterback play. That's not on him. I think that's on that particular quarterback and Brock Osweiler.
I'm over that hype train in general.
I'm still with Bill O'Brien as a good quarterback coach.
Good luck.
I think it's crazy. I mean, I still think it's crazy. There's so much data outside of the one. Like, you're taking one anomaly over 7 more years.
Because the anomaly is what I believe. But what I actually feel is that's legit.
I don't know. I'll take 6 over 1 every time.
Yeah, you do that.
I think that
So if
Watson also fell into a good position, but I don't think that this year is going to be because at the end of this year you're going to look at me and say it's not going to be a 1 year thing because I'm with you on it. It's not a 1 year thing here.
So
they
what
didn't
if this
draft
quarterback
him for one
fails?
thing.
Then what?
I don't think Watson's going to necessarily fail in general though. I think Watson's going to be a quarterback. And I think he fell into a good situation with good wide receivers, a decent offensive line. They need to figure out their running game, and their defense is. Played very well without their best player last year, yes? I mean, but they didn't have J.J. Watt, who was the best defensive player, and they still carried a team to the playoffs with as bad as a quarterback as we were talking about in Brock Osweiler. Their defense, I think, is better than either of us give them credit for consistently because they did make it to the playoffs without their best player last year.
They barely edged into the playoffs.
Without their best defensive player. That's a hard thing to do. And we can't name another player outside of Jadeveon Clowney on that entire defense, right? Cushing? I can't name another one.
No.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
I don't buy Houston.
I found that very impressive. I'm not saying I buy them as Super Bowl contenders. I buy them as doing what they're doing without anybody. I think is very impressive. They won the AFC South last year.
Barely, again, but okay.
We know somebody who thinks that the AFC South is going to win the Super Bowl this year. So I mean,
another clown situation.
So out of all the quarterbacks, because I want to get that out of the way. Out of all the quarterbacks, Mahomes. Landing in Kansas City. How about the Chiefs? What do I always say? You got to do something drastic to be drastically good in this league. I've never in a million years thought Andy Reid would draft a quarterback in the top first round, more or less trade to go in the first round for a quarterback, even with everyone's thoughts on Alex Smith. Like, I've watched Andy Reid my almost entire football, my entire football adulthood. Since I was probably 11 years old, I've been paying attention to Andy Reid's draft picks. He takes an offensive lineman in the first round 9 out of 10 times. He traded 17 spots up, traded 4 of his own picks, and got a quarterback. I mean,
ridiculous.
I think that says more about the quarterback. I think that says more about Patrick Mahomes than it does anything else. Andy Reid wouldn't have done that without knowing what he was getting, yeah?
If that man ain't the second coming of something amazing, then...
And he's not even going to see the field for a year, which I think is the best part of this.
That's what irritates the heck. Like, again, this is a thing that just irritates the shit out of me with this draft is that, yeah, okay, we gave up, but we're doing something drastic, and all we need is a quarterback. So we're going to give up all these picks for one dude that may work out because we really believe in him, but... At the same time, he may not. And then in 2 or 3 years, you could have a situation where it's like, well, damn, this would be a better fit for us. Like, I get you got to go out on a limb from time to time, I guess. Well, you don't like the draft in general because... No, I don't. But this whole giving up 3 or 4 picks for one guy, Alex Smith isn't that horrible where you got to feel, okay, let me give up 4 picks to get one guy. Like, fuck out of here.
Alex Smith's on the back 9 of his career, though, yeah. I mean, you're going to need a guy to come in.
Sure. Maybe. I don't know.
You think Alex Smith has another 5 years left in him?
I don't know. Regardless, my point, okay, put 5 on it. Okay,
no,
so 2 or 3 years, what if there's a rookie that would be a better quarterback than the one that you're reaching for by giving up 4 picks for?
I think they look at it as the opposite effect.
I hate this reaching thing that these.
But I think they look at the opposite effect. Look at Aaron Rodgers, who came in for Brett Favre.
There's always that one anomaly that everybody says, "Well, look at this situation." He's the last quarterback to sit for 3 times.
He's the last quarterback to sit for 3+ years,
and the only one.
And Garoppolo's going to be the next one. So why not go out and be the? I'm not saying he's going to be Aaron Rodgers. My point, I'm saying no. On the men of guys sitting. I didn't mean on good. I didn't mean on good. Calm down.
Everybody can be sad, so that doesn't mean anything to me.
Every good quarterback's being sat in the NFL, yeah. I said name the best backup quarterback in the NFL. I'll wait.
Every rookie can be sat. That's my point.
But no rookie is sat anymore. Jared Goff last year was, as you said,
I don't know. The trend seems to be to sit people.
No, but not in the NFL. Rookie quarterbacks, never. Rookie quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds are all starting the last 5-10 years.
All I heard about this year is you saying, or these experts the day after the drafts are over saying, oh, well, you should definitely be sitting these.
And I've been preaching that for years that the NCAA. I look at it as I say sit them because the NCAA is not feeding you NFL style quarterbacks anymore. The NCAA is feeding you quarterbacks that are throwing it 56 times a game.
So Houston should just have Alex Smith sit on the bench and have this rookie go play then?
No, I'm saying Alex Smith should start and this rookie should sit on the bench for 2 or 3 years. Look.
Everybody wants Aaron Rodgers. The problem is
I'm not
Aaron
saying
Rodgers
he is Aaron Rodgers. My point was
what I'm saying, because you're not the only one there saying. Well, they always every fucking year they bring up the Aaron Rodgers thing. Every single year.
Because no one sits quarterbacks anymore.
And okay, well, whatever, fine. And it's not always a good thing. It's not always a bad thing. But my point is, everybody turns it back. Everybody always brings it back. Well, Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. Yeah, one fucking time it worked.
And I'll give you I'll give you that. But my thing is that no one. Literally, Garoppolo's the first quarterback to actually sit since then. Do you know what I mean? Like, no quarterback that people actually think can win games in the NFL gets sat anymore because they think if that player can win games in the NFL, they throw them in there whether they think that the team can win or not. They think that the quarterback can win. Do you know what I mean? I'm with you. I totally understand with everything you're saying. What I'm trying to explain is I think that he landed in the perfect situation. Like Watson, we were just talking about Watson with the Texans. Watson's basically going to be expected to play within the first 5 to 10 weeks, right? And then he's expected to basically produce in 5 to 10 weeks after that. Where Mahomes, we might not see him for 2 more years, and I think that is the perfect thing, especially under a guy like Alex Smith, under a guy like Andy Reid, in a situation with Kansas City, who is good enough that they are Super Bowl contenders, at least more Super Bowl contenders than most teams in the NFL right now. He's able to learn on the fly, watch an organization compete for a championship, and then be able to step in there when that organization needs him to eventually step in there. Hopefully for them, later than sooner. Obviously, you want to play sooner than later, but it's a better thing for Jarrett Goff that he sat the entire year last year. You don't have...
Sure.
No? I think so.
I don't care. I don't.
I also think it's a good thing for Trubisky that Trubisky's going into a situation where there is a quarterback, even though Glenn is not a great guy. I think it's a good thing that he gets to sit. I think at the end of the day, the best thing for Trubisky is to not actually start week 1, right? I mean, you don't know much about college football, but he needs time to develop still as a quarterback, as a player.
Then why reach for the what ifs?
Because but that's all the draft is. That's all the draft has been since before we were born.
Well, my point is, I hate that it's more so.
Well, then you should.
I hate that it's more so a risk with these quarterback situations, which is bullshit.
It's a risk.
I'm giving up. But you're not giving up 4 picks for a fucking running back. You're giving up 4 picks for the quarterback. That's ridiculous.
But the first 3 rounds are a crapshoot, anyways. Round 4 through 7 is where the league is made up.
Really, that's the crapshoot.
57% of the league is made up through round 4 through 7 in undrafted players.
Okay, how much more do the NFL draft do we have to talk about?
Well, I would like to get into a little more on the sense of your Dallas Cowboys actually had a pretty decent draft overall. I thought they went after position that they needed to get. Even though I'm more of a draft player, not position, they drafted position all year, and
it is exactly what I want.
They picked up a bunch of guys that they feel like can help them right now.
That's exactly what I said they should do. Outside of, I said get a pass rush, I said get the secondary, which they did. But then I said, okay, maybe later on get a wide receiver or tight end. They went with 2 wide receivers. Yep. I would have preferred getting a wide receiver and at least 1 tight end to fill in there. But whatever. You get 1 wide receiver.
They did go for 2 wide receivers.
You're seeing 1 wide receiver makes a cut, the other might make special teams. Right. So cool, whatever. They did what they were supposed to do, focus on defense. That's what we needed. Cool, whatever.
We can't talk about the NFL without me coming at Eagles Twitter. Eagles Twitter needs to calm down. They acted like the first round pick that the Eagles picked was like the dumbest thing in the world. And I get that there was 2 guys on the board still, because there was 2 guys on the board that I would have rathered over who they picked. But I said it going into the draft. I did not care who they picked as long as it was not a quarterback and they felt like it was the best player on the board at the time. The Eagles have a habit of when players are falling, like this year there was 2 players from Alabama falling towards them. Mm-hmm. When players are falling, the Eagles have a habit of not breaking their plan. They come up with a player that they want to draft 4 days, 5 days in advance, and that's the player they draft no matter who's available at that time. They're not one of those, let's see, this guy's dropping, let's go pick him if he's there. You know what I mean? They are we think this guy's going to be available, this is who we're taking, we don't care what happens. They stick to their plan. Howie stuck to his plan, took his guy. I would have rather them go out and take either the guys from Alabama that were dropping, but this is what the Eagles do. And the guy that they picked, I mean, he's Myles Garrett, who was the first overall. He's Myles Garrett talent, who was the first overall pick. So I'm not mad at the pick. The way Eagles Twitter was freaking out, I would have rathered one of the 2 guys from Alabama. But they were freaking out like it was like the worst pick ever. The second pick as well, he sprained his Achilles. He didn't tear his Achilles. He didn't rupture his Achilles. He'll be back before...
That's Philadelphia.
He'll be back before whatever.
That can't play.
That's actually the first time the Eagles ever did that. Ever did that.
Say Philadelphia.
That's the first time the Eagles ever drafted a player that won't be available for week 1. Isn't that crazy?
Lost from the Sixers.
They're the last team to do that, and I think that's crazy because the Eagles they sign free agents that can't play, but they never drafted a guy. It's weird to me. Anyways, they drafted.
Philly model.
It's the first time they did that ever. But they drafted a guy in the second round that all consensus going into the draft were saying he's the best corner. It was just that he hurt his Achilles and is not going to be able to play till the middle of his first year. So people didn't want to take him first in the first round, which is weird to me because what's the difference if you take him in the first round or the second round? I kept saying about last year about Jalen Smith, who the Cowboys got the steal of the draft last year. They got Jalen Smith, who was
starting training camp this year.
He's going to be the best linebacker on the Cowboys. He's going to be by far the best linebacker that the Cowboys have this season, and people stayed away from him. A 10-year generational talent because he got hurt for 1 year. Where this guy here that the Eagles drafted, Sidney Jones, the cornerback, he's not even going to be out for the entire first season. He's just strained something. He's going to be perfectly fine. They say he's the best cornerback in the draft, and teams stayed away. I don't understand these teams a lot, but they reached for Mitchell Trubisky or Deshaun Watson. I don't understand half the logic across the NFL, but I feel like our two teams actually had solid drafts, which I can rarely say that about the Eagles.
I glanced at the Eagles overall draft, and I was like, yep, they went by a position that they did.
I'm not a big position guy, but they did what they did. They got a couple wide receivers. They got the running back they got the running back who broke the most rushing yards in the history of the NCAA, and it's a different era, and he played in not one of the top leagues, but it's still impressive, and I'm excited to see what he can do. So the Eagles overall had a good draft. I felt like Dallas had a good draft. The Tampa Bay Bucks, I felt like had the probably, other than the Niners, the best overall first round because they got a tight end that I feel like is going to step in there and make their offense lethal.
Yeah, they need that, yeah.
And the Niners, I mean, it's hard for us to look. Not only just the trade that they made, they got
that one's in itself.
They got one of the Alabama players I keep mentioning.
They got exactly who they wanted.
With like the 29th pick. Yeah. Also, and I'm so mad I didn't write his name down. It's slipping my mind. Just while we're on the draft, there was 5 players. Okay, now this is the craziest draft in the history of my lifetime, like that I can remember since I've been following the draft. I've never seen so many players that they said were going to go in the first round, not go in the first round. So many players that they said weren't going to go in the first round, actually go in the first round. There was more players this year that went to the draft, attended the draft, and didn't actually get drafted than ever before. And people, not just on social media, but that I work with, just in general, people were just clowning these kids. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, so obviously I got to hear the Kaiser thing the most. But not just him. I'm talking about all the kids that sat there and didn't get drafted in the first round that went to the draft. And everyone was talking about how embarrassing it is and how ridiculous. And, like they were laughing. They were mocking these 5 kids, right? And the one kid tweeted out, "Y'all are nuts. Y'all think I really came here to walk my parents down a red carpet and to sit in that, to not walk across that stage and get a hat and shake someone's hand and get my chance to play in the NFL? You guys are crazy to think that I should be embarrassed that it didn't happen in one day because I'm all right." He was the first overall pick in the second round. It was the best thing to me because, like, I agree with him. Like, I'm on the other side. Like, my job particular, but most Americans, to sit there and say it's embarrassing that he sat there and waited to get drafted in the NFL and didn't get drafted, it's more embarrassing that you think it's embarrassing for him because my man's still getting drafted in the NFL quickly, early.
What's embarrassing about it?
But
like, I'm out here. Who are you?
I get mad because...
Have you ever had the opportunity?
I get mad because... Right, exactly. And I get mad in general when people come at college players because, A, they're college kids. Like, when you're really coming out of college player right now. B, they're getting pimped out maximum. You know what I mean? So, and then C, this was the best day of his life. I don't care if it's in the first round, second, third, fourth. Mr. Relevant, Chad Kelly, the last pick. That is the greatest day of his life so far. He got drafted by an NFL team, and you're out here trying to take his shine away. Like, and I agree with the kid who tweeted all that stuff. Like, y'all really think that I've brought my parents, walked them down a red carpet, did all this to not walk across the stage and get a hat and shake someone's hand and get entered to the NFL. Like, if you think I should be embarrassed, you got the problem. Like, and I agree with him. I can't stand that people get on these kids. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a great thing. I thought it was even better that he tweeted that and then he was the first overall pick in the second round because it was basically like two birds walking across that stage. You know, he could have whipped up middle fingers and I would have been totally cool with it and find him later, as the other draftee said. Did you see that with the draftee? I thought that was pretty funny.
And you're not gonna find him.
No, but I thought it was pretty funny that he said that. What's up, my man Dion? I like Dion, but Dion was salty about the draft this year for some reason. He was like taking shots at the players, and then he started taking shots at the city of Philly, and then he started taking shots at the players again.
He hates.
I know he hates Philadelphia, but he started taking shots at like the players getting drafted. Like he would like interview him, and he was taking shots at him, and like he seemed like he was on edge all night. And I thought that was very weird from everything I've seen. Dion's usually like a really fun, friendly.
Yeah.
You could put him in any environment. Usually primes like the guy, and like it seemed like he had no business wanting to be at the draft. Maybe because it was in Philly. Like maybe he was just done from the beginning. I don't know. It was very weird.
I did.
Because I am a Dion fan.
I didn't say a damn thing about him.
Because I'm a Dion.
Outside of him pulling a mic away from the homeboy that was cussing.
Yeah. I am a Dion guy, though, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little disappointed in how not just because I don't know if he doesn't like Philly, he was a Cowboy, nor should he like Philly. That's fine. I was more disappointed in the sense of like how he was acting towards these players. Like my man was salty that he had to be there. I don't know, but like this is the biggest day of their lives. If we're gonna be involved, all of us, I think we shouldn't try to take their shine away. I don't know. I just thought it was odd. Anyways, you hate the draft, so I mean I could go all day. There's a lot more to talk about, but I know you're done with it, right? You're done.
So over.
All right. So the last thing I want to say. I know we call out this network often, and they are the reason that the draft is so overhyped and talked about all day and Friday and then all weekend over the actual games. But ESPN had a couple of layoffs. By a couple, I mean
100
layoffs.
It's all about the Benjamins. Yep.
I don't know if I've ever gone on the air and explained what's happening at ESPN. Have I explained it on the air yet?
I don't know.
ESPN, basically, the reason that these layoffs are happening is because cable network had went up from
Isn't it common sense? Isn't this common sense?
To buy, no, people don't know this. To buy a commercial on regular cable network back in the day was like 30 cents. Now, to buy a commercial on regular cable network, it's like $1.60. Well, to buy a commercial for ESPN, it's like $6 right now, right? Because they are the most expensive, I guess, broadcasting company in America. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is because they well overpaid for one game in the NFL a week, Monday Night Football, and they don't even get a Week 17 matchup. And they overpaid for the NBA by probably about times 7. So what they've had to do to react that is just fire everybody that they were paying any kind of money to. Mm-hmm. That lets go of a lot of personalities that we know of. It also lets go of a lot of personalities that most people don't know of. They let go of every senior writer of their top sports, so the NFL, NBA, NHL, and MLB. I'll be honest with you, their NHL writer that they got rid of, St. LeBron, he was the best NHL writer that they've ever had. I mean, like, it's ridiculous that they got rid of him. They got rid of 3 really good MLB writers. Those were the only reasons that I even went to their site to read articles anymore. I don't read any of their NFL stuff. They got rid of a lot of NFL guys, apparently. Mm-hmm. I also have a problem with not just them. This is all of sports media, but they are leaders in that as well.
Allegedly.
But they are the leaders in this next thing I'm about to say. To get your information about individual college teams, you're going to now get it through college, like through that college's prism. So like if I want to read things about Notre Dame, it's not necessarily a biased guy writing about Notre Dame anymore because ESPN has now cut their overall, all their NCAA writers. Now they have team-specific writers. So the team-specific writer is going to be biased towards Notre Dame. The team-specific writer is going to be biased about Florida State. So when I read an article about Florida State, I'm not reading it from a guy who's just giving me information and giving me an opinion. I'm reading it from a guy who grew up, born and bred, all about Florida State. So he's going to try to spin it off as Florida State is the greatest thing. The reason I have a problem with that in general, and we're not going to get the unbiased side of it, is because they already pimped these kids out. What do you think that when this kid goes to Google that team, now all he's going to read is basically propaganda about that team and not necessarily a biased opinion? It is just another way to monopolize college sports and basically affect these players. And ESPN, who likes to put on the front that they care about that, obviously does not, and their moves and cutting basically all of the senior overall writers that write across the board for the NCAA, not team individual writers, obviously show that they are in cahoots with these teams on trying to make it more of a biased thing, even out of their network. That is a problem to me, on top of all of the things that they did, letting go guys like Danny Canelo, who worked really hard on letting go of Jay Crawford? Like, what? Like, who he started First Take. People who don't even... It used to be called what? The morning something, right?
Cold
the breakfast?
Pizza.
Cold Pizza. That's what it was. Yes, Cold Pizza. I mean, like, him and Hannah Storm were the original Cold Pizza hosts. And that turned into First Take. I not even just those guys. Those are the personalities that, most people know. But it's just, I get it. It's part of business. I've worked for many construction companies. I've worked for a couple warehouses. Layoffs are part of life in all corporations. ESPN is not a corporation that should be part of layoffs. They pigeonhole themselves into the situation. It looks ridiculous, though, yes? I mean, it looks really bad. And they're going to do this probably for 10-plus years. Every year, I would say probably 50-plus people are getting laid off in the next 10-plus years because of that deal that they signed with the NBA, which you have guys like Matthew Dellavedova that are getting overpaid and guys like Danny Canelo who are getting laid off because of that individual deal. Literally.
Yeah, I have nothing really positive to say about the situation. I mean, people got fired that I was just like, that's wild, or I don't know who they are. And then there's people that I'm like, damn, how the hell did they get through this cut? Like, I don't follow, like, it's just, one, like, I understand ESPN's a major corporation. They gotta do what they gotta do. It's business. But at the same time, I was like, well, damn, you have enough room that you can fire 100 employees. Why the hell do you have enough employees that you can comfortably get rid of 100
employees and still move on?
That's insane in general. And in the past, like, 3 or 4 years, they got rid of a lot of people, too, that only had 3 or 4 years experience. A lot of them had a lot more, but it was still a nice chunk that only had 3 to 5 years experience. And it was just like, well, Jesus, what the hell did you hire them for in the first place? Then these people that you hired over the past couple of years are supposed to take the spots of these elder statesmen that were making all the money and getting all the benefits and all that, and just that and the third, and these younger talent were supposed to take over, and now you cut half of that, and it's like, well, damn, well, what really is left? You know, nothing that I really personally gave a hell about nobody that I personally gave a hell about got fired or let go. So I mean, that's what's up, I guess. But you know, it's not saying a lot because there's like maybe 5 personalities on the entire network that at this point, because it's just the way that I feel about the network in general. So
outside of the radio side, I don't have. I have connection with a lot of their radio guys because I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and ESPN. Even though it is still a dictated radio situation, I still when they are allowed to freehand, like when Russell Canelo was allowed to freehand and talk, I actually enjoyed it. I actually enjoy Mike and Mike when they are allowed to do things that aren't necessarily dictated by ESPN, and I really like Levitard because he is anti-letting ESPN dictate a show. That's what makes his show what it is.
And you know what? That's where ESPN is at, though, is that they're at a point where when people leave, all they do is dog what goes on there, and now you have personalities slowly that while they're even there, they still dog ESPN. That's part of the reason I think that Skip left is because like he was always, as much as they protected him in a way, he would.
Well, he wasn't really liked around the other people.
And he was kind of slick too. He was kind of slick too with some of the things he would do or say.
He wouldn't go on a lot of the radio shows. I listened to all the radio shows, and all of them dog him because he wouldn't go on there. Because, as they said, he told them he didn't want to debate with them because he. I mean, now obviously Stephen A. is going to approach him differently than they would. They would just go in there to rip him, where Stephen A. was his friend, and he wasn't just going to rip him no matter how ridiculous it sounded.
Regardless, you got these personalities that. Or just continuing to dog a network, and it's just going to continue to go to the ground as far as I'm concerned. Like to me, there's no upside with ESPN as a network right now, as far as I'm concerned. Well, are they the worldwide leader? Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're backed by ABC and Disney. Yeah. But, whatever.
No, I mean now it's because of what they built in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s that they're riding off of. There's SportsCenter was way bigger 10 years ago.
You're building off your name, but who?
People don't watch SportsCenter anymore. And that's their biggest show. No. Like, literally, I'll be honest with you, I don't pay attention to anything ESPN outside of those 3 writers that they cut and their radio side. Like, I really don't. The radio side, I mean, you were talking about how, why would you get rid of guys that just started 3 to 5 years ago? I mean, you got a guy like Danny Canelo who worked really hard to get to where he was, moved his entire family somewhere, and then you just cut him after you were trying to make him a personality. And I know Russillo had his own little conversation with it, but like you had people who listened to it finally either adapt, adjust, enjoy, whatever. You force Danny Canelo down their throat, and then you just cut him after he finally becomes somebody that they liked. You know what I mean? So I feel like their decisions. Right, exactly. That's what I was going with. Is you built this character, basically the WWE style. You built a character, and then instead, when you finally got everybody to go with the direction you wanted them to go with, you just let that character go. When I guess I know you have to be fair. You have to let go of people on both sides of the production. You have to let go of the faces and the people who make the faces. I understand that, but you are building your brand, and that was part of your brand. And he's a perfect example, and Jay Crawford is a perfect example of you had the fans become fans of people, and then you just threw them out the door.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't look good. But I will be honest with you. I feel like you and I, for about 1/3 of their salaries, if ESPN would need some spots filled. I know Dwight's not the biggest, and I'm not either, but I mean, like...
I'm really not.
If they're going to pay me 1/3 of what they were paying Canelo...
I could worship their ground just like everybody else does.
If they really need to tell me my guest list, I think I'll be alright. Like,
they're going to tell you your opinion, though. You cool with that?
No. That is where I do draw my line.
I mean, I guess my opinion could be bought, I can't lie.
All right, I'm lying. ESPN, you want to tell me what I got to say on the air? You know what? He's right.
You'll say, I
he's
can't
not.
lie.
He's not even wrong.
No.
He's not even wrong. ESPN wants to tell me what I got
to say. That sickens me, but there's probably a price value I can go with.
I guess eventually I could sell out. But until then, not to take a shot at Russillo and Canelo, just to take a shot at ESPN, I ain't going to let them fire my co-host Dwight and let me be okay with it. So
no, that's wild.
That would be also my problem, is that like me and you be on the come up and then they let one of us go. Like I'd be like, no, I ain't going to do it without Dwight. Like, all right, that's my boy. So we're going to have to find like a station that's going to take us as a team. Because at this point we're a team. Like we're kind of connected at the hip. And I ain't trying to do this without my man. So... Yeah, ESPN. I don't know what to tell you there.
That's kind of grimy.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
they're gonna fire me, and then they're gonna get you a new partner. And
yeah,
they'll fire him in 3 years.
Yeah, I'd be looking at like
that's kind of grimy.
But see, I'd be looking at ESPN like I need to go where Dwight goes, because like I'm not here without Dwight, so I'm not trying to do this without Dwight. Plus, I feel like we found this little chemistry without anybody production telling us what to do. This is I think way better than the force that you get on radio usually. It's usually forced people and I feel like we Stu Gotts and Dan Levitard, two guys that just work well with this together. I'd rather that than what ESPN's been trying to throw out there, even though they got those two out there now.
I don't know what the hell they're doing, dude. I don't think they do either.
The future is definitely a little odd in the broadcasting business in general.
Well, yeah.
But ESPN is one of going to be...
They're so arrogant, bro.
Yeah, and that's
because of their branding, and that's cool, and I get it, and they will survive off that. But at the same time, like you said, people aren't watching things.
No, people aren't watching their regular shows. I mean, even look, and that's another thing is you can't just. They didn't let go of guys that are on PTI. They didn't let go on the guys around the horn for a reason, because the bread and butter is still that 5 o'clock hour on weekdays for them. They don't have anybody else watching outside of that 5 o'clock hour on weekdays, and they didn't let go of anybody part of those two shows. That probably says enough about them that we needed to, you know what I mean? And Mike, which, by the way, shout out to them. Shout out to them, because there's been years and years and years and years and years of speculation about how Mike was breaking up, how there was issues, how there was this, how there was that. And here they are, 100 people get laid off, and not one person from their show is gone. They stayed in contact, and they're still going to consistently put it out. And it wouldn't work. You couldn't just let one mic go and have the other one have the other one keep going. I completely agree with you. But I guess, like as you said, that's the way it goes in business. I mean,
Yep.
Fox Sports doing their thing. They got Gottlieb. They got Doug Gottlieb.
I was going to say, I know they probably
they just picked up Doug Gottlieb. Yeah, exactly. And they're probably going to pick up a couple of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Fox Sports is run by an old executive of ESPN who got laid off a couple years ago. So, I mean, that's why. We'll keep following that. We're going to keep following the NBA playoffs. Mm-hmm. We're going to follow this fight that Dwight and I are going to definitely watch together this weekend. I'll probably talk about the NHL playoffs. I haven't even talked about Aaron Judge and the Yankees, who have been killing it in baseball. There's a couple of things that you could talk about with baseball, but I had to throw out the Bronx Bombers, man, out there, tied for first in the AL East. I had zero faith in them, and they were just killing it. Baseball, I'm sure we'll get into that, maybe not next week, but in general. So, I mean, we have a lot of sports still coming up. Keep it tuned with JD Sports. Find our personal Twitters at the show's Twitter page. I'm Jericho, that's Dwight.